Hey, everybody.
Happy Tuesday.
How you doing today?
It feels
How
like
you
it
doing,
should
Murph?
it feels like it to me. It should be Friday.
Feels like it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it feels pretty good. Well, I'm glad that we're having a stream tonight. I've been waiting to do this for a little while. Been kind of excited. And tonight we don't have much to share. We don't have really much to share for our campaign right now, except our sign-up page.
Yeah. Just
Go to Indiegogo.
just pop that
What's
up.
that?
So.
Yeah, I'll put the link in the chat here. And but we have a special guest with us again. It'll be his second time on our show, and we're so happy to have him back. I think we're gonna have a good conversation tonight. So without further ado, I will introduce Kimosabe.
G'day everyone, I'm the man called Kimosabe, the man with the plan from the land down under, and this is a topic close to my heart. This is something I can rant and rave about all bloody night. I'll try to keep it under 60 minutes, but it should be a cool conversation. I think there's going to be a lot of people in the chat agreeing with us. I don't see... Well, these characters are archetypical, and when you go off script with them, it always comes up less than they were ahead of time. You know, like you're starting at point X, and it's like, we're going to change this. That change, the character you get from that change is less than the original character. And there's a reason for that, and I'm happy to talk all about that today.
All right. Yeah. I want to follow just a very small format. We're not going to be very formatted at all, because we're going to be able to I want to get our emotions up on this a little bit, because I'm pretty passionate about it. But because I love these characters, man, and I hate what's been going on with them. But I just kind of want to talk about how they've been rebooted, reinvented, and replaced. And that's about as much format as I'm going to put on it. I want to cover that a little bit on each one, just to be able to talk about it. And then we'll move on to each separate character. So, well, how things been going? Let's check in with you for a minute. Let's see what's been happening with you lately before we get started.
Sure. In terms of the campaign, my colorist has promised that he's going to have the last pages to me at the end of next week. I can't speak into life's life. Stuff happens, COVID happens, business happens. It's crazy. There's contracts, there's obligations. He's been put in a situation that was beyond his control. He's assured me he will have the product I've paid for by this date. I'm taking him at his word, because he's given me no reason not to believe him. From there, straight to the letterer, 48-hour turnaround, straight to the printer, start printing. We should still reach that December mail-out date. So we're still on track.
Nice.
It's not as... I wanted it to happen a lot earlier. It's not happening earlier, but I gave myself this lead time because I predicted first time through a campaign, stuff can go wrong. Who knows? We're dealing with international money, international talent. You know, like half my team's from Brazil. Communication's difficult at times. There's the language barrier. There's reliability of the internet, that sort of thing. Australia's notorious for having really bad internet. You know, they call it kangaroo internet because it's that bad. So it looks like we'll still hit that goal. I wanted to have it out in like September, October, just dazzle everybody by being 3 months early. It looks like you're going to be right on time. There's that. Good. And I've just put out a new review today. I reviewed Relentless Tin Soldier by Nicholas Gear. Unfortunately, I called him Nicholas Greer through the entire video. I feel really bad about that. Not bad enough to go back and re-record it, though. From now on, he'll be Nicholas Greer for all time. Oh, my buddy Nick Greer put out a great book with Relentless Tin Soldier. So that's a 10-minute video over on my channel. Check that out when you get a minute. I've got it, cool. Comicsgate delivers, because so often people are really negative about Comicsgate. There's a lot of CG books that are late, but there's a lot that are early, and there's a lot that are on time. And more, the ones that are on time and the ones that are early are outnumbering the ones that are late. There's a couple of big names that are late because I don't know why. They've got other obligations, the complexity of their projects. I couldn't speak into that necessarily. I say if you're going to have it out by a date and you're not going to, there better be a good reason. But there's a lot of books that are coming out more and more on time or early, and the antis, the people who want to detract from CG, don't seem to be, talking about that. It's like when you criticize one politician for 4 years non-stop, and then another politician comes in and does a worse job, and nobody criticizes that politician for doing a worse job. You're like, this seems very, very one-sided. It seems like you guys have got an agenda. I don't see any antis going, you know what? I gave CG a bunch of shit for being late, but a heap of books I've seen lately have been on time. Props them for improving their game overall. Like someone like Nicholas Gear shouldn't be shouldering the burden of the bloke Critias who did Detective Dead. Like that thing's like 2 years late. That's not Gear's fault. His book was out. It was on time. It was a good book. go check it out. Go back, go in demand, go look at my review, whatever you want to do, whatever you can do.
Awesome.
Pick up a digital copy. I'm sure there's going to be a second one. It's left, like the whole first story is an origin. It's left wide open for a second book. Pick up the second book and the first book as a bundle when it comes out. I'm sure you're going to enjoy it, especially if you like, classic golden age characters, that sort of stuff. It really speaks to fans of that sort of genre. So I'm hoping to get a lot more reviews done lately. Somebody the other day said nobody's reviewing CG books. I'm like, I am. And then I look at my channel. I haven't uploaded anything in a month. So we're going to get back on that. It's those Khaleesi books, those Mother of Madness books that come out, man, they wrecked me. Ooh. I read them and I'm like, I'm not touching comics for a month after that. That was so bad, man. I tore them apart on my channel. I just reviewed them and said, these are terrible and here's why. Even the people who made them didn't believe in them. But I'm back making reviews. I got another couple written up and recorded. Just got to put all the visuals, the video. So over the next couple of days, we should have an Embrace review. We should have Black Bishop by Marcel Dupree. What's the other one? Cobalt by Jake from Tail End Studio. Cobalt was, boys, 10 out of 10. That was chef's kiss. It's one of the best written books of 2021. Not CG, not indie, one of the best written books of 2021, period.
Oh, wow.
I'd put it up against just about anything Marvel or DC's put out in the last 12 months. It's that kid is so on point. I can't believe someone's so young for his first book out. Like, he's a little bit younger than me, and I'm not an old fella. It's so good. It's so good. I was just reading going, How does a young fella come out the gate this good? I can't wait to review that one. That's going to be a lot of fun. So that's what I'm up to at the moment. The campaign's on track, back to reviewing books, and just hoping to be more on video, be seen more. The time's a bit funny. Thank you. I can't always get on. I've got the kids. I've got other stuff, obligations, and the time difference. But if more invitations keep coming in, I hope to keep turning up on channels and just being somebody. If you can't build up your own channel necessarily, be a super guest, be a guest that other people want to have on their show. So that's what I'd like to be, the sort of person. Go, Lee will come on. He never shuts up. He'll be good value.
That's exactly what I thought.
You own it. You got to own it.
Not really, man. No, I just know that we all have the same passion for some of these characters. I heard you talking in a chat, and we were kind of. I don't know how it came up. It came up in one of the streams we were on together, and I was just like, oh man, Eric Hupfels, I think that's his name. I think I'm saying his last name correctly. But he also said the same thing we did, and I was like, oh, I'm going to invite him on with us too. We're going to just have this nice conversation. Unfortunately, he couldn't be with us tonight, but I wanted to give him a shout out because he's wishing he could be here, and he cannot. And in fact, I need to invite him just to throw it out there in case he wants to come on. And
that'd be cool.
Yeah, just to make sure he has the opportunity, even though he probably won't be able to. So now, speaking of getting on chats and getting on the streams, I tried that last night, man. I got on Pete Sametti's open mic night.
How'd you find that?
Woo! Well, I was thinking, okay, I'm going to get on here and do great, right? And I got on there, and I think I bombed. I don't think I completely bombed, but
you did fine.
It wasn't energetic. Let's just.
I've seen people bomb. I've seen people, and Pete's pretty gentle in a lot of ways. At least the last time I went on, he was. But
he is.
A lot of it, I think, is attitude. If you go on acting like your shit don't stink, then your shit don't stink. If you go on there like, hey, boys, what's going on? A little bit Jack Sparrow, a little bit bombastic. You put on a bit of a show. You have the enthusiasm. You should do all right. I think people worry because I stumbled my words. So who's a progenitor? Who's the grandfather of CG? Arguably, it's Zach. Go back and watch his videos. That guy can't get 3 words in a row without stumbling. Nobody cares. Everybody loves the dude. So if you stumble your word, if you say the wrong word, if you can't come up with a word, you're just like, just vamp. What am I trying to say? Honestly, that's the vibe I want,
People don't notice. They only notice if you then say something about it. So if you say something wrong,
well,
I can't talk.
The way I bombed,
then people know.
The way I bombed was I said only 27 pages, and I was like, oh man, I should have been beefing that up a little bit better. And, I have these fantastic 27 pages.
27-page story. And also 27. Or you could say nearly 30. Nearly 30 pages of story. It's that old salesman trick. It's $9.95. No, that's $10. That's 10. That 5 cents is not helping me, brother. You're not. $99.99. That's $100. Don't lie to
me. Exactly. Well, I got
Pete's
the point
a good
across.
Format. It's a good format to go on for the first couple of times. Like John Mayland's, his stream's brutal. He's just straight up, you might get off my show. He's straight, you don't have a camera, you're not coming on my show. Like he's just, wow. Absolute concrete, just like, nah, get out of here.
But he seems like such a nice guy.
No, it's not. It's like Spartans throwing the kids off a cliff or sending them out to hunt a wolf for a rite of passage. It's for your own good, you know?
Yeah.
And if you get on and you screw up, he goes, hold on, man, take a breath, stop, let's start again. Okay, here you go. This is Lee. Lee, what do you got? And then you just start fresh. Like, he's not a dick, but he's very straight up. Look, this is my show. It's a big format. Here's the time that I've got. Aardvark Creations is here. It's my boy.
Hey, all right.
It's a good mate of mine. He's got his own book coming out soon. It's he's just a fantastic writer. All of his stuff is just great. I think he's as good a writer as I am. So that's a big compliment that I can give him.
That's really cool. Well, welcome, Aardvark Creations.
Yes, welcome. Thank you
for stopping by.
He told me that he went with the Aardvark because it's if you're going to search for it alphabetically, it's going to be the first comic book company that pops up.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, he's
true.
A broad thinker. He thinks outside the box. This guy. He's got a great perspective. Very learned too. If you get it, yeah, he's good to have on a show. He's well traveled. He knows dabbles in languages and stuff. Like, he's just a very cool dude. I consider him a good friend. So it's always good to see him turn up, and can't wait to see his book come out. Like, I know it's going to be good. I know it's good because I read it.
Very cool.
I don't even have to guess.
He's not selling it yet, though. He doesn't have
No, I don't think we've got a sign-up page yet, but he's got a couple of pages already done. It's looking really good. He's doing like black and white, like a manga thing. It's like big superhero space adventure stuff. So shouldn't be too much longer, I think, before we see a sign-up page, and then we can start really vamping it.
Does he do a YouTube or anything like that too, or no?
No, not yet. He's got a YouTube channel. He's jumped on my channel a few times to. We do design streams. He'll tell me about his characters, and I'll just design them in Photoshop on the fly, and we'll just talk it through. And I'm like, "What do you want? More spikes, less spikes?" Cool. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and that's something I do with him because he's a mate. But honestly, I'd be happy to do that for other people if they're happy the way that I do things, and they don't have. Because some people charge you for designs. I don't want to take the money out of someone's hand, the food out of their mouths, but at the same time, I could just do a design video. You could jump on. We could smash out a couple of designs, pick what you like, then take that to your artist. Maybe he tweaks it, and you end up with something that you like. I just something for me to do in the morning for a couple of hours. So that's something we do. Right. I think we're doing one tomorrow morning.
I saw you do one.
Yeah, we're doing. I remember you being on there. We're doing some more Space Henchmen for his book. So we'll be doing that tomorrow morning. Yeah, it's good fun.
Okay, so let's get to it. I think we need to get into the topic since we took a little bit of time there.
My bad.
No, not on you. Not on you. It is. I wanted to.
You didn't get sign up page, Derek.
Oh yeah. I put that in the chat, by the way.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah, I misspelled ballad, but that's okay. They'll get the point of it.
Value for money.
Kimasabi, man, I wanted to catch up to you, man. So I don't want you to feel that way at all. I really wanted us to spend some time just talking to you for a minute. So it was really good. But what we're here to do is talk about misunderstood characters, and especially with some of the things that are going on now with some of our favorite characters, and especially the biggest character of all time, Superman. He's very relevant right now, and he's been in the news lately. But to be honest, I don't want to talk about why he's in the news that much, because everybody else talks about that, and I really don't. I don't want to focus on that side of it. I want to focus on kind of how much he's gone off the rails, but then also where we would like to see him get back on the rails. Does that make sense? So, I think as one of the greatest characters of all time, Superman was like the best beacon of hope forever, and is what most other heroes are modeled after.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Yeah. So, to see a character of such stature, I feel like he's fallen, and I feel like it's not because the character is fallible. Of course he's fallible, but I mean, overall, the character's a great character.
Yeah, but when you look at comic book characters, he's probably not even in the top 10 of popularity anymore.
Yeah, he hasn't been for a long time, and his sales don't reflect that either. I remember buying
exactly right.
Superman comics back in the 90s and the 2000s. You get all four. You get Man of Steel, you get Superman, you get Adventures of Superman, Superman, Man of Tomorrow, or something, and one will come out each week. This is before All Star, but this is like the 4 issues that come out every month. One would come out each week, and the story would roughly sort of continue along. They did the same thing with Spider-Man for a while. You'd get Amazing, then Spectacular, then Web of, and then Spider-Man, and each week we sort of continue on, and I can't imagine the editorial that was put in place to make sure that flowed and to get it out week after week, a month ahead of time. That'd be a lot of work. My thesis for this is that these characters have a core existence. They exist in a set of circumstances that say this is this character, and probably talking about Superman is the easiest one. Grant Morrison summed up perfectly in the start of All-Star Superman, doomed planet, rocketed infant, loving parents, that sort of stuff. You can
he stripped it down
to the bare minimum. And that works for gold, silver, and modern age, bronze age, post-bronze age Superman.
I think they
all adhere to those things. So at the core of it, Superman is, infant, rocketed from a doomed planet, raised by kindly parents in the Midwest, goes to Metropolis, becomes Clark Kent, falls in love with Lois Lane. Like that's if you got that, you've got Superman. And anything beyond that is superfluous. Jimmy Olsen, Perry White,
agree.
They're almost superfluous.
Totally
Any version of Superman that you see in the media has those versions. That what I'm saying is when they start a new version of Superman, they go back to that. I was watching the Christopher Reeve Superman the other night. It was on TV here in Australia, probably because Superman's because it's so prominent in the news right now. And I sort of dipped in about the time that he threw the crystal out to make the Fortress of Solitude, and had to dip out right around the time
Did they
he
hold
finished.
Up? I've been worried about watching them again because
the first one.
I was a kid.
Yeah, the story to me holds up.
And
You can
the
watch it. It's not like ugh.
the time I was holding back tears, brother. I was watching that first time when the first night out, Superman is Superman, and he stops the cat burglars, and he stops the guy on the boat, and he saves the cat out of the tree. He does like 5 or 6 little things. And I said to my dad, who was there at the time, actually over his place, because we don't have the TV plugged in over here. I have it for my PlayStation, but we don't have a TV signal because it's mostly just garbage. So I avoid all that. But I was over there, his place, Superman was on. I said, Dad, all I had to do is give Henry Cavill 2 or 3 of these little things in between other scenes.
Yes.
There's a bit where he saves Lois in the helicopter, and he flies away, and he says, statistically, it's still the safest way to fly, like a PSA, like a public service now. It was almost hokey, but it was so wholesome. And as he flies away, he turns back just for a second, and he goes, bye, and he's gone.
Exactly.
It's a Superman. That's Superman right there. Bye. Like I just want to reassure you that I'm here. Who are you? I'm a friend. Bye. And off he goes. And I was just there going, there's one Superman right there. But it's like, are you crying? I'm not crying. Shut up, Dad.
That's because that's the shit. That's the stuff, man. That's why you fall in love with him.
Yeah. So every version of Superman has to go back to that, or it's not Superman.
Yes.
Lois and Clark with Dean Cain. You got all those elements. Rocketed infant, raised by a kindly couple.
That show.
Oh, it's fantastic, man. It's so much fun. Like Superman's only in it for about 30 seconds every episode. They really saved the budget by having him do almost nothing super heroic. Right. It's all about Clark and Lois investigating. But I tell you what, the way they used to write comedy back in those days, I've said it before, you have A and B lines. A line sets it up. B line is the punchline. Yeah. And then you don't have a C line. You go to another A line. And then you have a B line for the punchline. You watch Lois and Clark, you'll be in tears with how quick the repartee, the patter is back and forth between the characters. And when Clark's so fully like oblivious to Cat Stevens trying to to Cat Grant trying to seduce him and like, hey Clark, look at these boobs, look at this, look at that, and he's just like completely oblivious to it. And then Lois expects him to be a complete dog like every other man. And time again, he stands up and he's a good dude. And he's blowing her preconceptions of masculinity away while still being the most manly dude in the office. As Keno, it's so good. So his version of Superman had those same elements. Christopher Reeve had the same elements. The same elements weren't present in Henry Cavill's Superman in the same order. They went off script. And because of that, I think his whole portrayal of Superman is one of the lesser ones that we've seen. It went off script.
And unfortunately, he was a great cast.
Yeah, visually,
he was a great cast.
He looks perfect.
Had the presence.
Mm-hmm. And I think he could act. You know what I mean? I think he can act. I just think his story was terrible.
He decided to make his character all about being frustrated. So he's constantly frustrated no matter what. He's never at peace.
He never smiled. He never had a good outlook. There was no hope in him. They robbed him of hope. And that's what Superman is to me. He's hope. He's hope for the world.
It's like his version of Superman was looking for hope himself, and because of that, he couldn't be that beacon of hope that we wanted him to be. I don't know why Christopher Reeve Superman turned up. Like he just turned up and he goes, "I'm a beacon of hope." He had that in, and that's the problem is Superman's always supposed to have that invested in him, inculcated into him by his parents. For whatever reason, Kevin Costner version of Pa Kent made his son wary of the world as opposed to wanting to save the world, wanting to support the world. There's a great line that's in Grant Morrison's Justice League when they take on the HyperClan, and Superman says it's not our job to raise humanity. They have to do it themselves. They have to climb the ladder of evolution and progress themselves. And Batman says, well, what's our role then? And Superman says, our job is to catch them if they fall. Mm-hmm. That's Superman. His job is to catch us if we fall. He's exactly Big Data Superman. He's got the catcher's mitt out, and if we fall, he's got us. I got you, boys. I got you. Put you back on the ladder. Have another go. Yeah.
How perfect is that?
Grant Morrison gets Superman.
Yes, he does. He really does.
Fair on it.
They didn't give him much of a chance to write Superman, though, did they? I don't think he got that story off the ground very much.
And I think a part of that, again, is that when he did his version of Superman with the T-shirt and his powers were growing, he had a definite story he wanted to tell. And again, it deviated from the structure that we know, the Christopher Reeve structure, the John Byrne structure. John Byrne nailed it. That's 6 issues of Man of Steel. Chef's kiss. Still my best Superman. I really like is it Secret Identity as well with Gary Frank artwork. I think that's if they're going to do a Superman movie, they need to take the story of that Gary Frank Secret Identity Superman. I think it's
What about the electricity blue Superman? How do you like that one?
Nah.
Gimmick.
Those were gimmicks, man. Yeah. So that was right after the death of Superman. They started doing those gimmicks, and that's part of the reinvention, reboots, I mean, that they did on him. And that's what I was telling you, or talking about at first. He's also had different origins, and it's because they've lost that simple formula because they wanted to try to make him relevant. But you don't make Superman relevant by losing his core character.
That's right. And it shows that they didn't know how to handle him. He's always relevant. He's always relevant because he is a high watermark. He is he's a landmark, a milestone. He's saying, okay, here is Superman, the man by which we compare all other things. You don't say, let's change Superman to suit today. Let's see how today comes up against Superman. Superman is this immovable obstacle that you throw anything against. He's like, hope. It's like, but starvation, famine, disease, war, pestilence, hope. But alien invasions and child pornography, hope. But pedophiles, hope. Hope, bitch, I'm Hope Man. Like, it always comes, and they don't, I think because they don't have hope. Dude. Because they don't have hope, they can't write hope. The wrong people writing Superman have been for years and years. And some of those characteristics that he has are so present in Cyclops and Captain America. Now, I think there's a definite agenda to tear down these straight white male, masculine leadership characters. These are characters that you look up to. You know, these characters go, man, I want to be more. I remember being a kid watching or teenager watching the X-Men animated series. And the first couple of episodes, Wolverine and Cyclops really get into it a few times. And, you know, being a young man, you think, Wolverine's so cool, man. He's like a rebel. He's got the claws. And, you know, and Morph gets left behind and ostensibly killed. And then Wolverine cuts up Cyclops' car and says, tell Psyche I made him a convertible. You know, and he does all this sort of, he gut punches Cyclops out of nowhere. I'm like, that's right, bitch, take that shit. You left Morph behind. And then 10 years later, I went back and watched it as a young man. And I'm watching go, no, Wolverine's a punk bitch and Cyclops is a grown-ass man, a commander who made a leadership decision.
They're both
he did
right in that situation.
You're not wrong.
That's why it works.
G'day, crazy man.
He's Team Wolverine.
You're right.
You stepped all over him.
You're right. You're right, Murph.
Cyclops was right to leave because they were getting overwhelmed, but Wolverine's like, well, we shouldn't have left people behind. We should have got
Wolverine's
them left.
Right to have his grief, absolutely. So it completely changed, you know, my mindset on once I become older and I had responsibility and I realized how responsibility impacts on the decisions you make. Sometimes you've got to make unpopular decisions, you know, in that leadership role. And Superman, Captain America, and Cyclops all have leadership roles.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so before we change characters, I know we're getting on Cyclops now, so hold on. Wasn't quite done with Superman yet because I feel like he's almost the epitome of what I'm trying to talk about tonight.
Well, I think anything you say about Superman translates into Cap and Cyclops
I think it does
to a lesser
too
degree.
Because they're very similar style of characters, especially Captain America.
I would say though they all do kind of handle things differently though. I can see how all three of them will handle things differently.
I think they all have different characters.
They have the same they have the same belief system, but they don't have all the same leadership.
Yeah, because they got different experiences.
Yeah.
Captain America comes from military background. Cyclops is military-esque, having been raised partially by Charles Xavier and being trained for this role. But in a way, he's almost like a Blackwater type PMC private military company leader. Like he's got the military-esque tactics, but he doesn't have that. These are my boys. This is my troop. We fight for our country. He fights for mutant kind. And that was his downfall, because that was the hill they made him die on, which we can get into in a bit once you're done with Superman.
Yeah, man. So the only thing I think with Superman, I feel like talking about his relevancy to today, I know you touched upon it, but I feel like he's one of the most relevant characters today, especially in America when we have so much immigration going on. I feel like we could be turning that.
Yeah, he's an illegal immigrant. He didn't come in the right way.
Yeah, that's true. He is illegal. But
the John Byrne version, he come out of a birthing matrix, so he's literally physically birthed on American soil, making him. So Byrne sidestepped that whole thing. And I'd be interested to ask him, like, what was your motivation there? Because the idea was, he's essentially the uber immigrant. He comes from another land and he makes it. He succeeds in America. That's the point of America. Anybody can make it. Not anybody can make it. Anybody has the chance to make it. You've got the same. I've got the same chance as you. You've got the same chance as me.
That's
work hard, knuckle down, American dream. So he comes to America and he embodies that, even though he's not actually from here. And in a way, we get it over here in Australia. Some people come from some other country and they're like, what country from? They're like, I'm bloody Australian. They get really angry if you say, like, well, what country did you come from before? He goes, doesn't matter. I'm Australian now. You're like, they'll straight like, this is the best country in the world. I love being here. I'm fully Australian. I'm Australian. My kids are Australian. Doesn't matter that he came from Syria or Vietnam or whatever. Like now,
people used to say that about America. Mm-hmm. They used to say that. I don't feel like they do as much anymore, but that's my point. Is that I feel like
come here. If people don't like America, they could leave.
Well, but they do want to come here. That's what's so funny is they do want to come here, and I feel like we have them coming in droves. Yeah, so what is that?
Yeah. So it'd be interesting to see what Byrne's motivation was, if he was trying to sidestep that whole immigrant thing and actually make Superman American. I don't know if he thought that deeply about it. If it's just something he thought that would be cool to actually have Superman be birthed on American soil.
Interesting, kind of what EVS has been bringing up, that they changed these characters just
they changed the American way statement so to a better tomorrow. I don't hate that statement.
I don't either.
But on the surface, but when you look at it, the long-standing thing was, the American way. Well, the American way is not just pro-America. It's got to do with that melting pot of all these different people coming together and creating something great. With
common values, and that's the thing. Yes, Superman come here and he adopted those values, and this is what I was saying about these guys come from Vietnam, Syria, any of the Arab nations, whatever. Like Australia's like second or third most multicultural country in the world.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, after Brazil and one other one, I'm not sure. Like Brazil's got this huge Japanese population. Apparently, the Japanese mafia is a big deal over there. I saw that in some movie. I'm like, I didn't know that. That's so cool to know.
No, I didn't know that either. Wow.
Yeah. But if you come over and you have the same values, you'll get along. If you come over and you form little whatever town and you become insular, then people go, well, look at those guys. They're not American, Australian, whatever nation they've come to. Like, you've got to come and be part of it. And Superman represents that idea so perfectly, because not is he a Canadian coming to America and becoming American, not is he a Chinese coming to America and becoming American. He's an alien. He's not even human. And yet he comes here and he becomes more than human. His Clark Kent is more than human. He's hyperhuman. Yes. He's almost a parody of humanity. In the Silver Age, he was like this parody of humanity. And I think some elements of what was brought up in Kill Bill are relevant to the Silver Age version of Superman, if you take an Alan Moore cynical look at it. But the modern Clark Kent in Man of Steel, Burns' Man of Steel, in Dean Cain's version of Clark Kent's probably my favorite. He's just such a baller. He's just like, it's all good. I'm just Clark. I'm chilling. It's all good. It's fun. He'll have a little, Lois will say something to him. He says something back, and she's like, "You can't say that. That's cheeky. You can't get away with that." He's like, "Bitch, I'm Superman. What are you going to do?" But it's a Murph. You got to go check it out, brother. Go pick up the first season, watch it, and just love it. When the first episode, when he flies in, they did the effects so good for the 90s. But he flies in on the wires there. You don't even see them, and he's holding Terry Hatcher, and he's got his mullet and the long red cape, and you think that boy made me believe that half Japanese, half Hawaiian dude made me believe he was Superman. I didn't even know he was ethnically diverse like that.
I know, that's
I just thought he was like brownish. It's like, he's got a good tan. That boy's got a good tan.
Well, because he was
What's that?
darker. I always thought he was just Italian. I didn't realize.
Yeah, well, he just,
Yeah.
you know, he's part this, part that, and he absolutely nailed it. He's still one of my favorite Clark Kents, and he's my favorite Clark Kent, one of my favorite Supermen of all time. He's just absolutely on because they had that same structure. They didn't deviate from it. The more you deviate from Superman's core, and I think what they're worried about, the creators, is like, well, how many times can we tell the same story? Well, Grant Morrison come back and told the same story and did a great job. Mark Waid did a fantastic one of Clark traveling across the world and learning to be the man that would become Superman. You know, he took his parents' teaching and he spent the next 10 years traveling Africa and all these other places. Then there's that Secret Identity, I think, again, with art by Gary Frank. Who writes for Gary Frank? Who's the guy that writes for Gary? Jeff Johns? I think it's Jeff Johns and Gary Frank.
Was it Jeff Johns? Okay.
And it starts with
pretty much writes everything for DC.
There was a time there where he was writing everything. And it starts with
drew
Lex
the All-Star
Luthor.
Superman?
Frank Quitely.
Frank Quitely. Okay.
Yeah, which I love his
Gary
stuff.
Frank and Frank Quitely mixed up.
There's a lot of detail and overlap, but Frank Quitely does stuff like there's a bit in All-Star Batman and Robin where they shoot missiles out of the Batmobile and the whoosh of the missiles is formed in the shape of the smoke leading from the Batmobile to the missile as it shoots. Yeah, stuff like that. It's very European. You don't see a lot of it in American comics. Gary Frank draws a fantastic Christopher Reeve. He makes his characters look just like the movie versions. And that Secret Identity or Secret Origins, it might be called Secret Origins actually.
Okay.
It starts with Lex Luthor coming out on his balcony every day, every morning, and there's millions of thousands of people in Metropolis saying, Mr. Luthor, pick me, pick me. He grants one wish a day. And everyone's there, Mr. Luthor, you're the king of Metropolis. Mr. Luthor, I need this. My kid's got cancer. I'm out of work on it. And he picks one person, he gives them their wish, and everybody else goes home disappointed. He does it every day, and that's how he gets his vibes. That's how he puffs himself up. By the end of the book, he goes out to the balcony and goes, my people, if I can't beat this Superman, he's taken everything from me, but I've still got these sycophants who love me. And he walks out, and what's out in front of him? Nothing. Not a single person turns up, because over the course of the book, Superman has given them hope and taught them to reach for themselves and to do it themselves rather than relying on Lex. Lex wants to push you up the ladder at the rate he wants. Superman says, you climb that ladder and I'll catch you if you fall. So Jeff Johns completely got that aspect of Superman.
Damn. I love it.
And
Go
check out Secret Origins, and it's got Brainiac, it's got the Legion of Superheroes, it's got time travel. He makes the whole thing work. If you read that and All-Star Superman and Burns' Man of Steel, to me that's like the holy Superman trilogy. You put that on the screen, you're sorted.
Nice. Okay.
I feel like though Superman can't be a Boy Scout. Now again, I haven't read as much DC as I have Marvel, but like for him to have relationships with Wonder Woman and Batman. Like, if he was a Boy Scout, Batman and him wouldn't get along. You know what I mean? To gain his respect, he's more than just a Boy Scout.
Oh, yeah,
because there's definitely that element of Batman. Sometimes he's written as looking down on Superman. I prefer it when, and I think Superman, Batman, Public Enemies, which again, I think was written by Jeff Loeb, art by Ed McGuinness. It's a great first couple of issues, and it shows it back and forward. Can you guys hear me all right? Because I can see myself bugging out on the screen.
Yeah, you're bugging out.
Your voice is coming in perfect.
Your voice
That's all right. Then it's all matters. I'm pretty, but I'm not that pretty. And the whole point is Batman and Superman are both sort of talking about each other. And it's funny because when you start reading the narrator's boxes, the two different colors, you actually think Superman's the blue and Batman's the yellow. And then you realize it's actually swapped around and they're talking about each other. It's very cleverly done. And what Batman says is Superman fills the role that I can't do. I'm Batman, I do what I do, and that's sufficient, and the world needs me, but I can't do what he does. And Superman says the same thing. I'm Superman, I police the world, I make sure people get along, and I'm hope, and I'm there, and I catch them if they fall, but there needs to be a subversive element. There needs to be a proactive element that I can't necessarily do, because when I do, I push my own agenda, and I'm not about agenda, I'm about catching humanity when they fall. So I'm glad that Bruce is here to do what he does. So there's a bit there, all through the 4 issues, I think, where Bruce is saying, I'm glad the Boy Scout is here because he does what I can't, and vice versa. You know, Superman says the world would be a worse place without a Batman. And it's a great way to show that they are who they are, but they respect what one another does, and not in a detrimental way. Sometimes Batman's portrayed as like, he's just a Boy Scout and he's an idiot and I don't even know why I put up with him. Where it's like that I can understand in the modern age they're not exactly being the best friends they were in the Silver Age, but they definitely still need to be friends. But the way that Byrne first wrote them, I don't know if you guys have seen that, where Superman turns up and says, Batman, you're breaking the law. I'm going to stop you. And Batman goes, aha, use your special vision on me. You'll see that I've got a force field around me. If you breach that force field, it'll activate a bomb on some innocent citizen in the city and kill them. And Superman's like, I thought you were a good guy, just misguided. Now I can see that you're evil and you're terrible. I'll go along with your plan, but one day I'm going to find a way to take you down. And then at the very end of it, they stop Magpie. They're all getting along fine. And Superman says, you're not a bad guy, Batman. I just don't understand why you would risk some innocent person's life with a bomb. And Batman goes, the bomb was on me the whole time. If you touched me, it would have killed me. I would never risk another innocent person. I didn't know if you had mind reading capabilities, so I needed it to be true that someone's life was at risk. And Superman says, I now see you're an honorable man. I'm glad to have worked alongside you, and I'm sure we'll work again in the future. They shake hands and leave as, if not friends, allies. I'm good with that. You just don't need to have them snarking on each other.
Right.
You know, Murph's right. Superman is more than a Boy Scout, and Batman recognizes how necessary Superman is.
Yes. I love it. I love it. Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to Captain America.
Wait, before Injustice, Superman's awesome, though.
Oh.
Injustice?
Yeah, the Injustice comic books. He's great.
Okay, well, thanks for having me on, guys. I'll happy to come.
Yes. Oh, you know.
It kills.
I haven't read them, so I don't know.
It kills my soul. I read a couple. I got a couple of 4chan, and part of me died on the inside and said, "No, there's only so." I didn't ever have these grey hairs before I read Injustice.
No, Superman's not bad. He's just.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly, he solves a lot of problems by how he does things. He just takes more control.
Well I mean, it takes away from the character. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm going to say, if you say like he solves problems, but he's just kind of misguided the way that he does it. For me, the point of Superman is he doesn't get misguided.
Well, the thing is, even Batman's telling everyone he's mourning, and that like people are rushing, like all the other superheroes are doing stuff, and Batman's like, everyone chill. Superman's mourning. He doesn't, don't do this, and everyone's kind of making it worse because Superman's never, went through something like this before, and so. That's why I liked it. I thought it was really well done.
I've seen Superman in that state of grieving handled well in a couple of other books. Grant Morrison in his JLA run had one where Darkseid's anti-life equation took over Earth, and this is Electric Superman back in the day, and Lois got affected by it and he couldn't free her. So Superman uses his electromagnetic powers to fry out her synapses to essentially kill her by putting her to sleep forever. And then he tore open his containment suit in grief because he couldn't handle a world without her. So I can understand him going off the deep end with grief, but I tend to err more on the side of Kingdom Come. He would say, you know what, mankind, you know what? I love you. I do love you, honestly. Yes. I'm not one of you, but I've always wanted to be, and I do love you, but you took her from me, and she was the best of you. Without that, I don't think, we've all experienced grief, boys.
Well,
and there's a point where...
Yeah, I agree with that.
It was his child that was killed, too.
That's true. That's true. That's double grief.
But
he says, Batman, you don't get it. I would have had someone like me, because even Lois is still human. His son
some good writing, Murph.
Kryptonian. Like he said, he wouldn't have been alone. Yeah. And so that's why I thought it was really well written.
That's strong, man. That's strong. I'm glad you told me that bit. That resonates.
It does resonate. I still wonder. I know that would be important if you had somebody else like you, but I don't know if it would turn you evil.
Oh, and he's not.
You know what I mean?
And Metropolis died too. His city, his wife, and his child were all killed by the Joker.
I mean, look what happened when Hal Jordan lost just his city. Just his city. He became Parallax. I know they retconned it, but initially, Parallax was his responsibility, his choice, his reaction to grief was to become this tyrant that went around killing other Green Lanterns and taking their power to make a better world. So, I suppose this comes down to this idea of like an immutable canon that somebody like Robert Kirkman, who owns Invincible, if he hired somebody else to do a story and they said, hey, I want to do a story where Invincible goes and does this thing, Robert Kirkman could say he would never do that. I can't perceive a situation where I don't want him to ever be, and it's infinite universe, infinite possibilities. I don't ever want him to be seen as a person who could do that. If I had Superman, if I owned Superman, and whoever wrote Injustice come to me and said, hey, I want to do this thing where he turns evil because he lost all these people, I'm like, the best I can give you, debatable. Like, you do certain things.
You brings a lot of peace to the world through his
but do the ends justify the means, brother? Like if you kill a certain amount of people or that sort of stuff that he does there, that's an evil action. Does it make you wholly evil? Yeah. That's a big debate for theologists.
That's what Thanos did, man.
Wait,
you remember that,
Batman
Kevin?
Evil, since the people who murder people, he just puts them in prison, they get out again and murder again.
And that's a good point. But at what point do you say, hey, Batman, it's your responsibility to kill this living human being?
Yeah.
Right.
You know, like it might be the state's job, it might be the police's job, it might be the court's job to indict someone and say, hey, you got to go to the electric chair. To turn around to Bruce Wayne and say, hey, Bruce, I know you're going out for crime fighting tonight. You actually have to murder this dude because he's going to murder more people in the future. It's
like the Joker should have been like Joker's killed how many people? Like,
absolutely, he should have been killed a long time ago. Somebody else should have done it. But is it Bruce's responsibility? Is it Batman's?
Yeah,
like
good point.
Yeah, who can say to him, it is your job, Bruce Wayne, 35 years old, address in Metropolis, go get a gun and shoot that MFer in the head. That's your job. I don't know if you can say that to any one human being. And people say, but he chose to be Batman. He chose to be out there and chose to participate in this crime fighting thing. So he has some obligation. I'd argue he's done enough by locking this guy up. You can't make someone be a murderer.
That's a good point.
I think it's pushing it too far. So if somebody come to me and said, look, I want to do Evil Superman or Injustice Superman, if we want to rephrase it, I'd say to them, look, the best I can give you is something like Kingdom Come. Something where he says, look, I love you guys, but you've just been so shit to me for so many years. I can't hack it anymore. I got to go. I'll still be there. Right. I'm not going to pretend like you don't exist, but I'm just taking a long ass break from you guys. And then Wonder Woman comes in, you know, and he's there, got his long hair and he's doing the farmer stuff. I loved it. I think that's a nice way for a heartbroken Superman to spend his time. I like Whatever Happened to the Man of Tomorrow was a great way to end Superman. He gets to just be. I remember reading that for the first time, and the reporter's there interviewing Lois, and this guy walks in. This is my new husband, Steve, and Steve's got a mustache. He's like, that Superman fella, he weren't no great thing. Anyway, I'm off to get me a beer. I'm like, this bloody bogan, Darrow, redneck, get out here. You're no Clark. You're nobody for Lois. And then right at the end, he's like, that was Clark the whole time with no powers, pretending not to be Clark by being this colloquial, down-to-earth guy. I'm like, that's who he is. He's this colloquial, Midwest, down-to-earth guy. And the more they deviate from that, the less you have a character that resembles Superman. And then they complain that it's not successful. Well, of course it's not bloody successful. We wanted Superman, and you gave me, some half-baked version. You gave me something that's so visually and thematically varied from what I, you don't seen that meme that goes around as a kid's reading a book called Red, and then he's playing a video game called Red, and he's reading a comic book called Red, and then he sees on the internet, coming soon, Red the movie. He's like, I can't wait to see Red the movie. And he goes and sits down and he looks at the screen and it says the word red, but it's in the color blue. That's what I feel like we're getting from modern comics so much. I'm like, I want Superman. They're like, cool, here's your Superman, bro. I'm like, that is not my Superman. He's your Cyclops, bro. That is not my Cyclops. My Captain America doesn't hate America. My Cyclops is the genocidal maniac.
That's exactly right.
My Iron Fist is not this broken cuck that has no agency. Like,
wait, does anyone really have an Iron Fist? I don't think anybody. That's my Iron Fist. Come on.
Oh, I do. Iron Fist, Cap, and Cyclops are my three favorite Marvel characters. Yeah, and destroyed all
Iron
three.
Fist has good following, man. Yeah, Iron Fist has a good following.
I've never read an Iron Fist comic. Like, you know what I mean? It's one of those things where
there is an element of him being directionless and a bit lost. Like, he's a man out of the world who spent his whole youth growing up in this Asiatic culture, and then he comes back to the modern world and he doesn't really know, and he's got all this money. How do you fit being this billionaire tech guy with this very simple life? Did the show do anything
right? Because I did watch the show on Netflix.
Not really.
Yeah, there was a lot missing.
The only thing I liked about it was how he kept referring to the dragon and referring to Kunlun as a real thing. And everyone's like, bro, there's no such thing as dragons. He's like, no, I fought a dragon. Like, no, bro, there's no dragons. No, I fought a dragon. I tore its heart out, and that's how I got my power. It's like, no, bro, there's no such thing as a dragon. And just his pure-minded, but dragons exist. Nobody wanted to believe him. I did like how that juxtaposition looked in the modern world. But there's very little did they do in Iron Fist. The casting was wrong. That whole thing with that dude that was running the business, that was like his, sort of not really brother. Like that, none of that. They just went on and on and on. Then,
it was boring.
With his dad.
It was boring.
Yeah, it took him like 4 episodes before he finally used the Iron Fist. I thought it was clever how they portrayed him as being like mentally unwell, and he thought that he was this dude, and then he wasn't, and then he bust out and he was. But they didn't need 4 episodes for that. Do that by the end of the first episode and get on with it. Let's see some more. And the dude couldn't fight. I know that's not what we're here for, but he's not a martial. Get a martial artist.
Well, the actor didn't.
I agree.
He was supposed to go to training, and he said, "Nope, not doing it." So
and it shows. It shows. Iron Fist is supposed to be the best in the world.
Okay, so I'm gonna rein you guys in a little bit.
I would.
So now we're
already at 40. We're at 44, and we've only really talked about.
Hey, man, I love it. I love these conversations. I mean, I think this is the point: is that there's some misunderstandings in there.
I know way more about Cap and Cyclops than I do Superman.
Yeah, that's okay.
I've always been more of a Marvel.
Cap is more misunderstood. I think a lot to do with his uniform more than the character. They all think he's just cheesy,
weird.
and he's this guy to be written off because he just wears a flag on his outfit.
I'll never forget in Secret Wars where they talk about him leading, and Wolverine goes, he can't do nothing. He shouldn't be the leader
because he's a man, right? Yeah, just because he's a man. And I think that's the point. So just to give you guys some things, facts. The original Captain America ran until 1949, and then due to being unpopular, they stopped. Ooh. And then they started him again in 1953 to 1954.
So 49, he had him die in ice, or is that a retcon?
Nope. Just the comic had some kind of finale to it, and then 1964 is when Stan Lee brought him back.
That's nearly a whole generation.
Yep. Yeah. Almost 10 years later, they brought him back and put him in the ice and had him a part of the Avengers and all that stuff. So, there was a lot. They didn't know what to do with him at that time. Once the war was over, World War II, he lost his place, know. Mm-hmm. And so culturally we changed. Go ahead.
I was going to say you got like the baby boomers, you got the post-war boom. America was doing well. It kicked some ass in World War II. It took center stage in the world stage.
Crazy mad. We'll have to talk about Daredevil one of these times. Daredevil has one of the longest comic runs ever. He actually doesn't get as much credit as he should.
Yeah, Daredevil is one of my favorites. But okay, let's get back on Cap.
So, maybe America didn't feel like it needed him as much. It's like, thanks for your service, but you're a bit archaic, you're a bit outdated. We're going to put you to the side, not realizing that, again, by being that milestone.
1964, you're talking about times they were changing at that point with
music.
Kennedy as president. You also had hippies and people being anti-Vietnam at that point.
That's right.
So with all that happening, the hippie movement and then rock and roll came along, man. I mean, rock and roll was already there, but it changed at that point.
One thing though, too, Cap's whole run is always with the Avengers too. So he's always got two comics going on.
Yeah.
He's never not on the Avengers.
Yeah, you're right. But I think with cultural things happening,
successful too.
Everybody was kind of anti-establishment at that point. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yeah.
So with that movement, I think it was very hard for people to get behind somebody like that. It wasn't as easy as making him punch, Hitler in the face anymore.
Yeah, because you didn't have a clear Hitler, and if you're having to come out, if you're going to have him come out against communists explicitly, which was an issue at the time. You're still dealing with like post McCarthyism in '64. I'm Australian. Yeah. I only know what I know from what I've read. A lot of this
blacklist.
That sort of stuff. So, if they brought him back specifically for that purpose, he'd be propaganda as opposed to a character. I think it's telling that Captain America's character works better the longer he's in the ice. Now, when he got out, I remember rereading the first issue where he is reprinted in Captain America Annual, where he got out of the ice, and he's like, look at these crazy kids with their hip hairdos and their happening dance moves. It's like, man, it's been 12 years. That's like that's not a big jump. You know what I mean? I'm a man out of time. It's been 12 years.
Oh man, that's hilarious.
Oh, that's awesome.
Whereas now, like, look at the MCU Avengers or Ultimate. Like he wakes up and he's on a helicarrier, and he's like, we went from diesel tanks in World War II to a helicarrier, to a global spy network, to the internet, all this stuff.
Yeah, that was great. I think that was great.
On some form of electricity.
Right.
Yeah. So there's the longer he's in the ice, the more the man out of time motif works, and you've got to run the two parallel. He's a man out of time, so he's out of his depth, but at the same time, and this is the whole point of him, being a living symbol of a system that's the best system in the world, that when it's done right, it works. I know that's a lot of caveats. When it's done right, the American system works. We just got laws passed in Australia that we can't do shit about because we don't have a Bill of Rights. You guys do. You got the best system in the world. When it's done well, it is the best system in the fucking world. And I will say it now. Sorry for the swearing, but I feel strongly about it.
No, you're right, man. You're right.
So you got a man out of time.
You're exactly right.
who is also this immovable object of the best system that's ever existed in the history of mankind. You put those two things together. Yeah, I'm out of time. How do I ground myself? By falling back on this perfect system that works. Like if you go back to what the original founding fathers and all the rules they put into place, it's almost a flawless system. It is airtight. They come up with every consistency, every contingency. If this goes wrong, if tyranny happens here, this is how you do it. This is how you fix it. I can't believe the foresight and the vision of these guys 200-300 years ago. To put together. I put together a shopping list and I struggle. These guys put together a system for a nation that still works. And if it wasn't for the fallibility of human nature, it would still be the best system in the world.
So when are you going to run for president over here? I mean, what's going on there, Lee?
I've noticed that no presidents get to have beards, so that'd be.
Yeah, it's true.
You notice? Imagine some presidents come out with like a full, not even like a wild man beard, it's just a good, respectable, solid, beefy beard. It's just my fellow Americans, I will vote for that man. Yeah. Not even Australian, I'll vote for that man.
Well, I mean, good old fashioned patriotism. It goes a long way with people, and they want to see it. They don't like when people are, shutting down the country. Social justice stuff only goes so far. You know what I mean?
Well, because then you're putting down people's, parents or great or grandparents or great grandparents. And
that is true. It is true. But it's
the easiest person to go at is the dead, because they can't come back. They can't.
Which is why it's so abhorrent. That's why people hate it when people do that sort of thing. When you speak ill of the dead.
I don't want to get too political here, so I'm trying not to jump into a Trump thing. But the misunderstanding of Trump, and this is all I'll say, was that he was very patriotic, and he was very much into wanting to see our country do well, economically and just on the world stage. And I think he did some things that helped with that. He did some things that damaged it too, character-wise. But you could see his character wanting to have those things that he knew was right. I would.
Sorry, you go on.
No, I'm sorry, and I feel bad because he never got to accomplish some of that stuff. But I think he was held back, for a lot of reasons. And I think that's why a lot of people gravitated to him, was because they understood that that's exactly what they wanted as well. They wanted to hold on to the ideals. Yeah, that's exactly right.
And ideals, the idea of like a better version of what you've got, like make America great again. The idea was it has some of the shines come off it, not because the systems fail, but because mankind inevitably we fail. We're fallible. We're flawed. Right. We're greedy. We're selfish. You only got to see members of Congress who sell all their stocks right before something crashes and buy up right before a company gets big and goes through the roof. You're like, that's so corrupt, man. That's so broken, and no one's doing anything about it. So he wanted to go back to when it was idealized, better, and that's something that I think aligns with a lot of people. But you can see how, along the same times, he's holding up patriotism and even nationalism. I don't think nationalism is a dirty word at all. They want to push it like it is. The media turns it around and makes patriotism and nationalism a dirty word. Makes them dirty words. Makes wanting that thing somehow a negative. And you see that reflected in Captain America all the way through Trump's presidency. He was the whipping boy of the Marvel universe. He was depowered, aged up. He was made weak. He was made a villain. He got punched like Hitler got punched. He was replaced. He was sent to other dimensions. I mean, a lot of Captain America's older stuff, like stuff in the 90s, I got some choice issues from back. There's one where he's fighting this one dude. He's like got a purple jumpsuit with a cybernetic eye and this energy staff, and he's fighting him on a bridge. It's just a nothing issue. You could have been Daredevil doing it. It could have been Spider-Man. It could have been Moon Knight. Any character could have fought that bad guy on the bridge. There's nothing specifically patriotic about it. Captain America can just be colorful action man who solves some sort of problem. There's a bad guy. There's a not even like a governmental conspiracy. It's like, here's an organization that's going to do some bad shit. I'm going to stop it. They should push him more into the James Bond, Austin Powers, secret agent vibe. That sort of like he's some threat to the nation. He's going to go deal with it. Not necessarily as representative. Look at the Kingsmen and the Statesmen. They stop bad guys from doing bad things. They're not government run. They're independent.
That's right.
Like, I'd like to see Captain America, maybe funded through Stark, through the Avengers or whatever, have his own organization of like other. There used to be patriotic themes as a left winger and right winger. Silver Sable had a whole team of patriotic heroes. The Silver Sable's Wild Pack. Get some of those guys back. Get the young black Captain America kid that was descended from Isaiah. What's his name?
Isaiah Washington.
Make like this, thank you. Make this patriotic crew of dudes who they don't have to be covered in the Star Spangled stuff, but they do like what the Kingsmen and the Statesmen do. They stop bad guys and big Dr. Evil type conspiracies. It'll have a political undertone, but it's not beating you over the head with it. You know, Captain America doesn't have to always. He doesn't always have to be making a speech about America. You know, I'm loyal to everything but the dream.
That's
general.
Well, and that's what some of the new creators are saying. They're like, well, he is political, and I'm like, actually, I don't think he's political. I think he's been made to be political. That's the misunderstanding. I think the great thing about Cap is that as a man, you know, he's been given these powers to be more than a man, you know.
The best a man can be.
But he's the best a man can be. Yeah, I mean, it's not Superman, but it's the best a man can be. And he lives it.
He does. And he... You know, like, is it natural or does he know that's who he is? And that's what the persona he has to put on. When you take young Superman,
right?
Like when Christopher Reeve turned up as Superman, he's already like 33 or something. Like he's already there. Yeah. So you got at that age, you've got enough confidence. If it was 19-year-old Superman or 23-year-old Superman, he might turn up and go, "Okay, I'm bulletproof, but I'm still kind of nervous putting on a show." I think Captain America. You look at him.
How old is he when he becomes Captain America?
Well, that's a good point. Like he's only like 19, 20, 21. Like he's legal age to enroll, but he's a very young fellow. Give him 5 or 6 years fighting in the war. You're looking at maybe 25 when he comes out of the ice. That's a young man. To me, 25, I'm 40. To me, 25 is a kid. 25 is a boy. 25 is like,
that's exactly
enough to vote and fight and fucking buy a drink, but you shouldn't be making big decisions yet. You know?
Yes, that's right.
Living in America,
you don't have enough life experience.
Or 35 to hold office. Right.
That's right. There's a limit.
Yeah.
There's a great bit where I think it's in Earth X, which is the whole X series. Is a fantastic one to check out if you haven't. Alex Ross and I think Jim Kruger maybe, and it's like Kingdom Come, like just in the scope of how Ross reinterprets the Marvel characters. It makes essentially all superpowers stem from a celestial egg housed inside of Earth, and that's why Galactus comes here. Like he ties. It's masterful. I remember reading it in the school library as a kid. I think it was my last year of high school. And I was sitting there reading issues in the library on a free period, just thinking, I can't believe this dude took 60 years of Marvel history and perfectly, I'm not even joking, airtight, pulled every element together. Mutants, Avengers, everything. Brings the whole thing together to make one big overarching narrative. The fact that Marvel didn't make that canon, I'm just like, you don't have to do the end of the world Earth X stuff, but all the stuff that he tied together to make Earth X possible should have become canon. And they just pick and choose as they do. There's a bit in Earth X.
It's a multiverse, right? It's a different universe, isn't it?
It'd be alternate future. But what I'm saying is the stuff with the Celestial Egg and Galactus and that could have been canon 616 Marvel. Considering how tight it was. But there's a bit in there where Red Skull says, you know, by your very existence, Captain, you undo the ideals that you stand for. What's some of the first words in the Constitution or the Bill, you know, the self-evident, all men are created equal. Yeah. Captain America was created to be more than equal. So Red Skull says, by your very existence, you undo the idealism, the ideals that you. It was only Ross could come
writing, man.
Yeah, it was great writing. And then, of course, Cap comes back with, and you know, Red Skull expects Captain America to be shattered by this, and Cap's like, you can't use your mealy little words to undo this great system. Me being a step above somebody else, a bit faster, a bit stronger, whatever, doesn't undo. Like, what matters is life and living and freedom and liberty. Right. And I can help maintain that. And if that, you know, you can't shake my core, but just the way that thematically they're able to see, you know, how Captain America transcends his ideals, something that Ross could do that modern writers can't do. They constantly bring him back and make it political. They have big baby head president, you know, all that sort of stuff to be these straw men for Captain America to destroy by saying, haha, we've got your hero destroying your other heroes.
Right.
But I honestly think Cap sucked for so many years because the Avengers kind of sucked too. I mean,
there's a lot of
MCU. They weren't that big. Like,
well, you know, speaking to that,
Spider-Man, Fantastic Four.
Like going back into that, not to bring up Superman again, but you know, when I'm one of the few people that I don't like Superman's portrayal in The Dark Knight Returns, because they make him a stooge of the president, and basically he's a bad guy because he supports the government.
And they had to even go back and retcon that because it was received so badly. And even Frank Miller said, I misstepped there. I misunderstood Superman when I was a young man writing that. And they had to make it that Lex Luthor had the entire bottle city of Kandor ransom, which is why Superman was being a stooge, because there's no way for him to get Kandor and save all of his people before Lex flooded it with kryptonite and killed. He couldn't do it. Because that's not Superman. Superman, there's a great alternate Elseworlds tale where Superman marries Lana Lang, has a costume with gloves and a cape, a big collar and big buckles around his neck there, but he's still not Clark Kent. He's Superman 24/7, and he's considered a criminal by the entire world. Every country in the world's got warrants out for him, and he just flies around the world solving problems 24/7, and they hate him, but he doesn't adhere to any laws of man. He's like, I'm here to save lives. And every night he goes home to the Fortress of Solitude, and Lana says, you did good today, you saved lives, don't worry about what they say about you, you're not Clark, you're Superman, you're saving lives. And he goes out and he does it again. And I think if you push Superman far enough, he would get to that point. He'll either go kingdom come and say, I'm out, I'm going to leave you to yourself, or he's going to say, I'm going to save you constantly, I'm going to keep catching you. I do it anyway. But I won't become Injustice Superman where I proactively go and stop stuff I go and depose this guy, like you get into iffy territory there. I think because he's not one of us, he feels like he doesn't have the right to go and do that. And I think that pushes the character outside, and this is just personal, where I see him sitting, it pushes him outside the borders of what's acceptable. And that's when I start going, I don't, that's not Superman to me anymore. And this is what we get when they keep reinterpreting the character, pushing him into realms where he doesn't sit right for the readers, and the readers rebel and say, I don't like this. They don't buy the books. The books do poorly, and people say, oh, Superman's not popular. Well, you're not giving me Superman.
Right. I agree. They keep on reinventing him, and actually he's taken kind of a back seat to some of the other characters, namely Batman, for years because of this.
Everyone's taking back seat to Batman and DC.
Well, I mean, that's true. But I mean, Superman really, I mean, does it get bigger than Superman other than Batman? I mean, really? No. For a while there, I mean, Superman was the epitome, and now I think it's changing over to Batman more.
Oh yeah, Batman. I'd say,
but you know why?
Harley Quinn's bigger than him too now.
You know why Superman's bigger? I mean, Batman's bigger. It's because they've stayed more true to the Batman mythos. I believe.
Somewhat. Yeah, I think you're right, because
if you make him a detective.
Yeah, that's. I'm just saying.
I'd like to see more of that. But if you go back to those core structural elements, because Batman's even got less of them. Superman's got rocketed infant.
That's what I say.
Doomed planet. Kindly parents raised in the Midwest, Fortress of Solitude, costume, all that sort of stuff. Like, you need that stuff for it to be Superman. Batman, and you see this in the Elseworlds. There's so many Elseworlds with Batman. There's Pirate Batman, there's Cowboy Batman, there's Shining Armor Knight Batman. There's so many of them, probably more than anyone else. Gotham by Gaslight.
All that.
The core of Batman is boy who lost his parents to violence.
Yes.
And then becomes vigilante, gets revenge.
But he can be as violent. I mean, other than killing somebody with a gun, that's probably his only boundary that people hate. But other than that,
a lot of the Elseworlds versions do end up killing people. Pirate Batman, I remember he stabbed the Laughing Man, the pirate version of Joker, right through the heart and pinned him to the mast, and then sunk the ship with him still alive, pinned to the mast and drowning in the ship.
There you go,
Batman.
That's nice.
It's bad, isn't it? Bad. So, in a lot of because historically it was more acceptable to kill people. If you killed someone in a duel back in the day, they're like, you shouldn't talk shit about you. If I kill someone in a duel today, I go to prison. How's that fair?
Crazy Mad says Batman is dark and edgy, though. And I'm like, well, yeah, and that's what we're saying. I mean, because he's dark and edgy, you can kind of stick to a more violent realm. But I think it's also easier to write some of that. It's harder to write somebody full of hope all the time. Somebody who's going to take us to a light side of things.
I don't know. The MCU didn't have a tough time doing that with Steve Rogers. He seemed...
Well, they took him pretty dark. They took him on the dark side.
A little bit, but not for the most. He's in 9 movies. That's like one movie.
It was Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah, Endgame, he's hope. He's all about hope in Endgame. After all that.
Yeah, at the end.
No, even in the beginning. Remember, he's talking about the dolphins are back and stuff. And
I guess he gets back a little bit.
I haven't seen either.
You haven't seen them?
No, I dipped out after Civil War. I got sick of the race baiting of Black Panther. I'm like, I'm done with MC. I haven't watched anything since.
Black Panther.
I didn't.
You need to watch them. I think they did a good job.
Yeah.
They're nice up through Infinity and Endgame. I like them.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see.
You're missing out on Thor, Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange movie is a pretty good movie in itself.
Oh, I did see Doctor Strange. I forgot about that one. I did see that
one.
one.
That was really good.
Because it felt more removed than the others, and I wasn't sold on Benedict Cumberbatch. Is that his name?
Yeah,
what a name!
Yeah,
you know?
hell of a name.
Like if you got a surname of Cumberbatch, you think they just call him like Stephen or Joseph, just to dial the weirdness down a bit. What do I call him? Benedict Octavius Mouse Practice Cumberbatch. That's a mouthful.
Well, it might not be his real name. It could be his actor.
It could
name.
be. I was going to say something along the lines of that your Captain America is eternally hope, but he doesn't have the power to make change to the level that Superman does. And I think what makes it hard to write a hopeful character like Superman is it's like, oh, he's here. I'm hope. It's like, then do something about it. And he's like, oh, but I'm not really one of you, so I've got to constantly dial it back a bit and just catch you if you fall. I can't be proactive, because what happens when you get proactive Superman, you sort of inevitably get Injustice Superman to some degree, just without the grief. So that he's got to, and he knows. Yeah, he knows how powerful he is. He's got to keep himself in check. So because of that, there's hope but stifled. Whereas Captain America is, hey, I'm the best a man can be. I give you hope, and it's hope that maybe you can achieve. Superman's like, be better. Captain America's like, here's the best. Come on. And you know, so there's saying about Superman, he's always going to have to pull his punch. He's always going to have to pull back at the last minute.
Spider-Man
you go to say something really radical to a public friends, where you go, man, that guy Trump, I tell you what, it's one thing about him. He sure did tweet mean a lot. And you pull back at the last second because you don't want to be ostracized. Superman's like that. He's like, I could fix all your problems. And he pulls it back. I'll get a cat out of a tree. He knows once he goes over that line, it's a bit like Batman killing. Once Batman kills, you can't come back. I remember in Under the Red Hood, Jason Todd's like, just kill Joker. You don't have to kill Two-Face. You don't have to kill Penguin. Just Joker, because he's the worst. And Batman's like, but once I start, how do you justify stopping? And they touched on that with Invincible. Mark was like, I'll kill this dude because he's come back 10 times. He's nearly killed my family a bunch of times. I can't trust him not to do it again. But I'm not going to go kill the Lizard League. I'm not going to go kill Dinosaurus. I'm not going to go kill this guy. But I will kill, I can't remember his name, the guy with the brain, because he can do alternate dimensions and teleport, and he can just turn up and just knife his mum at a moment's notice. You can't stop that no matter how good you are. So he killed that dude. And then he said, but I'm not going to kill the next guy. And it's hard to justify that.
Well, that's what in Injustice.
I agree with you.
Superman goes to kill the Joker because the Joker's killed his wife, his son, and his city. And Batman actually tells him it always starts with one.
That's
Superman's
good
like,
writing.
It's just him, just this once, and he's like, it always starts with one.
And it makes you wonder if in Kingdom Come, if Magog hadn't turned up and shot Joker. Now, because Superman arrested Joker, he already did it. He beat the grief. He lost Lois. He lost everybody at the Daily Planet. They all died from the gas attack. Perry, Jimmy, essentially his family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Robert, I hate Marvel and DC. But this is a good conversation.
I know.
I mean, I would say I hate what they've become, but I love the characters.
I hate what they've become.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, DC and Marvel's why I got into comics, man. I mean,
that's what I was going to say. Like I said, when's the golden age of wrestling? What's whenever you got into it? What's the golden age of music? Whenever you got into it.
That's
golden
exactly
age of comics,
right.
You know, 1986.
I hate the state of music right now.
That's it. That's it.
All it takes is one. Mm-hmm. There you go. Okay, so let's move on to Cyclops now. We haven't really got to give him his due.
There's a lot of overlap, but he's sort of hampered by
there really is.
Well, the movies treated him like trash. He has terrible movies.
Oh, yeah. The Fox movies were terrible.
Honestly,
I hate
out of
every
these
bit of them.
He's gotten the worst when it comes to movies.
Really has in all of them.
I agree.
And like in the comics, they even knew they ruined his character so bad they had to bring a teenage version of him in to start again. You know, Cyclops has got a pretty solid following amongst the X-Men. Like everybody loves Wolverine. Wolverine's the man, and Storm's got a lot of support because she was a great leader for a time. And there's you know, she's such a strong visual character. Like the X-Men are really popular.
Like the Avengers have a Trinity and Justice League have a Trinity. X-Men's Trinity is Storm, Cyclops, and Wolverine.
I would agree. Even above Jean Grey, I find Jean Grey almost superfluous. But she's got a big following too. Everybody in the X-Men, like the core X-Men, there's a big Psylocke fan base. There's a big Gambit fan base, a big Rogue fan. Like people love the X-Men.
Kitty,
they love the X-Men.
I'd say Beast and Jubilee less so. They're probably on like the B tier or C tier. The rest are in the. Yeah, I don't see a big. I don't see a lot of people talk about Beast. I'm just talking in terms of like.
Beast is up there. He's in
I
the
just mean like in
Illuminati.
terms of online popularity. People say, "Oh, X-Men, that
Online,
Rogue, Gambit,
yeah.
Psylocke, the sexy ones." Beast, like, yeah, Beast
Well,
is like the
I know
Martian
Angel
Manhunter of the
isn't
X-Men.
popular. Angel.
No, he's not popular. He's so, and I never got him as a kid. I'm like, so he can fly. Yep. But it's like this slow, self-powered flight that takes time to build up. And he's not as good at flying as, say, Rogue or Storm or Jean Grey with the telekinesis now. And he can just fly. Yep. Is that even a super
Nightcrawler?
Yeah. There's each one of the X-Men's got a really big following, and they just shout on
so
Cyclops' following by. I can't, and this is, I suppose, what comes down to Captain America, Superman, Cyclops. Where the characters are now, if you take who they were when I knew them and said, hey, this is who they're going to become, I wouldn't believe you. I'd say that character cannot get to that place. Superman does not get to he does not get to Injustice Superman. At worst, he gets to Kingdom Come Superman, in my opinion. Cyclops
look
doesn't
what they
get
did.
To,
I agree with you, Kimo. They did that. The one thing they didn't know to do with Cyclops was because he was a Boy Scout and a good leader, just a solid dude. They were bored with him.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Up against Wolverine, I mean, he was pretty just a straight man to Wolverine,
Yeah.
And so what they do to him when they reinvented him, they made him more violent.
Mm-hmm.
Militaristic.
Yeah. And it's this sort of like devaluing, like that early Cyclops would die to save a human life, because that's the dream of a coexistence. And you can't say, I value my own mutant life more than your human life, because that puts a rift in the dream. Like, he believed in Xavier's dream more than probably anybody. And they turn him into this guy that's like, a certain number of human casualties is acceptable, lads. Tally-ho, let's go. Like, that's not who Cyclops is. He should not have become that person. And I don't think they ever...
Crazy mad.
Yeah, you're right.
They never played it.
He went to be the number one student of the Dream to the number one student of Magneto, any means necessary.
That's what Crazy Man says. Now he's a straight man with he's not a straight man.
Now he's a straight man with Wolverine.
I thought he was saying
not a straight man with Wolverine.
He's essentially Wolverine light, because he's as violent and as disenfranchised as Wolverine has been. There's times where Cyclops has become disenfranchised with the Dream, and he's gone off on his own, and he's had his little, especially after Jean died, he took a couple of months off and got his head straight. Yeah. I think then he come back as Storm was a leader, and he had to take leadership from her, and he didn't like it. So there's great stuff you can do there. Like, fancy taking orders from someone going, that was my job, and I know I'm better at it than you are. And I think they even had a tussle, and she ended up beating him because her I don't know, like, Cyclops' powers is I look at you and you stop existing, so I feel like he shouldn't really lose a lot of fights. If you can look at something, I know that his beam is narrower than your vision. Your vision's like 270 degrees or something, whatever it is, like you can see, so you can't hit everything there. It's a certain beam. Well, but if you're looking dead on something...
If he takes off the visors, he can, like you said.
Yeah, there's a great scene in Joss Whedon's X-Men where a Sentinel turns up on the front lawn, and they're like, "How do we stop this Sentinel?" Where we already got little baby mutants in there, and Wolverine, and it's a huge, extra big one. And Cyclops is like, "Stand back, I got this." Takes off the visor. I don't know if you guys have seen it, and it just wipes out like a solid kilometer square of trees, just back to just scorched earth. And Wolverine says, he says, Slim, sometimes, some days, I remember why you're the leader of this team. You're like, even Wolverine gives me his props now. I don't feel like they ever played up. They treated Cyclops like, I'm a competent leader. I give the orders. I'm the boss. And he was Leonardo from the Ninja Turtles. He was, Mr. Straight Man. But they never said he's like a prodigy of being a leader. There's that crazy bit where they say Wolverine's brain for fighting, it's like playing 16 chess games in a row and winning them all simultaneously and winning them all. That's how Wolverine's brain works, trying to justify why this guy whose entire battle tactic is, I will jump at you with my claws out every time, is somehow the best fighter in the Marvel universe, or right up there with Cap and a couple of others. Like, Wolverine's whole strategy is you never see him go a couple of jabs. He's like, I'll pop my claws.
He can fight hand to hand without the
he can.
He's a samurai, not a ninja.
Yeah,
his whole
ninja too.
His whole thing is, I'll pop my claws and I will just jump at you. And how many times does he do that and just get murked straight out of the air? Like, he's like, let's go, Bob. Pops the claws, jump, and somebody just slaps him. Like, I love Wolverine, but they always portray him as this rowdy brawler that just jumps straight in. So in an effort to sort of promote the idea that he is one of the best fighters in the Marvel universe, he's got like 150 years combat experience. Like you said, Murph, he's trained as a ninja, he's trained as a samurai, he's been in multiple militaries, he's trained with other superhumans. Like, this dude should be the John Wick, the Batman, the Lady Shiva of the Marvel universe, and somehow he just jumps in. So it is this thing about like how he's able to negotiate 16 chess games simultaneously and win them all in his head. That's how he treats fighting. Captain America is treated as he can see faster than a normal person. He sees ahead of what's going to happen. Like his reaction time is so fast because he's peak human. By the time you're thinking about the punch you're throwing, he already knows the punch and he's ready for it. So he's always ahead of you. That's why he's so good.
He is a master
combatant.
What's it called of a war? No, not just
like a tactician,
strategist.
War,
strategist.
Like a war strategist. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Isn't that?
Yeah.
But
they never treat a Cyclops like the master strategist that he's. That's where they should have been. It should have been.
I
never.
agree with you on that too.
Wolverine should never have said, I want to be leader. Storm should never have said, I'm going to take over as leader. It should have been, g'day, Pops. It should have been everyone going, Storm going, I'll do it, but only till Cyclops comes back because he is the OG best leader, and I couldn't do as good a job as him. And Wolverine going, I know you're like a 10th of my age, and I don't like you, and you're a straight down the line dude, and you're banging the girl I want to bang, but you're still the best leader in this whole outfit, so I'm going to do what you say. Like, they needed to push that idea. Cyclops is always just considered competent when he really should have been made like the OG. He should be up there with Reed Richards, with Captain America as like these great, like if it comes to a strategy battle, those three should be sitting around a table going, okay, how do we handle this? And they all sort of defer to each other and hear each other's ideas. Professor X wasn't the leader. Professor X was the icon. Cyclops was the leader. Cyclops is the guy with the boots on the ground. Right. So when people say Cyclops is boring or they don't like him, I just think he was handled poorly. And because they didn't push that idea of him as much, he just ended up being the straight man. So what do they do? Like you said, they got bored of him. They made him more violent. They made him more militaristic.
Yeah, but it's not like they were bored of him in the 80s or 90s. It wasn't until like the end of like 2010 they got bored of him. You know
I think they wanted. You're right. I think they wanted to justify.
I think in the 90s they always said it. They said it in the 90s too.
He's always had his detractors. I think the reason they turned him into this genocidal madman is they wanted to. They're all a bunch of racists, and they want to justify genocide against flat scans because they see themselves as the mutants, as the special ones, as the this orientation, as the this pronoun, as this political affiliation. They see themselves as the special, better, evolved one. Because what are mutants? More evolved than humans. That's Magneto's justification. If you believe in evolutionary theory, they're the next step along. So they wanted to justify genocide, literary genocide against us for being normal. So they made Cyclops this guy, but then they pushed him so far they couldn't bring him back. And they don't understand things.
They made him. Yeah,
they broke him.
Go ahead.
Yeah, they broke. Zach talks about it. You can bend a character, but once you break them, you can't fix them again. You know, once Batman crosses that line and kills someone, he can't undo.
They broke him. You know, they made him not faithful to. You know.
Yeah, see, that's Cyclops. I've always said, if you're in a relationship, you've been going out with some chick for a year or two, and you're out at the pub, and some hottie says, "Come home with me. I want to jump on it." You're like, "I'm going to do this. All right, I'm doing this, boys. I'm doing this." You get on the phone, you call your missus, and you say, "Duh, I know it's been 2 years. You've been great. I'm about to go do something. We're done. We broke up. I'm sorry. I know I look like a bastard, look like a prick. I know I've just thrown away 2 years worth, but I am officially, here's a line in the sand, I'm officially breaking up with you." Now, you might be a piece of shit after you do that and you sleep with that other chick, but you're not a cheating piece of shit because you broke up with her. Like, there's a line in the sand. It's not a nice one, but it's there. I don't think Cyclops would have crossed that line. He might have been.
I don't think so either.
Let's go through a brief
I agree with you.
Here of he has a child with a lady. Jean comes back. He's like, peace. He leaves them. Then in the 90s, he was having somewhat of a thing with Psylocke.
Psylocke, yeah.
So let's not make it like Cyclops has always been this guy that all the women have always been after him, and he's taken advantage of that. So that's not a new thing. That's a literal his character.
That's how you could portray that. You could also like. And
I don't know. It just seems out of.
This will come down to the writer. This is like when it says who would win out of. This guy or this guy. It's who the writer wants to win. I can argue specific feats, whatever. I think that's a great interpretation, Murph, and you could definitely write it that way. I always saw it as Madeline was like, I feel bad for her. She's behind the line in the sand. She's the girl that he broke up with to go back to Jean. She was the replacement. Is it a dog move? Yes, it's absolutely a dog move, but she was his one love, so he went back to her. You know, I don't think it was right, but that's who he is. So again, Psylocke, that was a bit of flirting and stuff in the head, but he never actually did anything with her. He was tempted, but he held fast. Emma Frost tempted him and he didn't hold fast. And I think probably with Emma Frost is what was the trigger that changed him into becoming, g'day Nefarious, becoming who he is. Like once he gave up on Jean, once he cheated on her, he was able to become this genocidal madman. The Cyclops that was willing to give Jean up to die to stop Phoenix, because Wolverine couldn't do it. Remember, he's there, says, I can't do it. They changed it in the movie. They made it that Wolverine was the one that was able to kill her. In the comics, in the cartoon, he pops his claws, and she says, Wolverine, you've got to kill me. He says, I can't do it. True. I can't do it, Jeannie. She sends him flying. Cyclops gives her a kiss and says, I release you to your fate. I love you enough to let you go. And then the beam comes down and kills her, and then we don't have Phoenix anymore. Only Cyclops could do that, And I don't think that man, if you didn't let him cheat with Emma Frost, he wouldn't have been able to become that genocidal dictator. But changing who he was, become a man that would cheat, then turned him into the sort of man that could become a genocide. So it's that slippery slope. You let Batman kill one person.
Cyclops will change because of how things did happen, though. Like the mutants went through a lot of stuff.
Yes, that's true.
You know what I mean?
House of M.
A lot of genocide through those years.
No more mutants.
Yeah.
Some big stuff happening with them as people.
Off. Yeah, was bombed. So you could kind of see where he's like, well, screw this. This ain't working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And as someone who's witnessing political persecution in my own country, I'm at the point people say such and such, this premier, that premier. I'm like, fuck them, rope them up. Like what? I want to see them swing. Like I've gone really extreme with it. I'm like, this is literal treason what these people have done. I would have just a year ago I would have said fire them. When I see how many people have died because of actions they've taken, I'm like, that's treason.
You're coming around to being like Cyclops.
But aren't heroes meant to be better than that? Is an argument.
Yes. Cyclops was it for a long time. He was there for a long time, and
I still think they should uphold. I mean, beyond just the womanizing or being not faithful, however you want to look at it. They changed him so much that they didn't know what to do with him and had to kill him off.
Yeah.
And then now with this House of X and all this,
I think it was more Marvel seeing how well Civil War did, and they're like, well, let's have a schism between X-Men and so on.
They always do.
I think that's really what it was, honestly.
And a lot of these, this is what I was going to say a second ago, and that ties in perfectly, Murph. Is the story that we get from changing Cyclops or is the story we get from making Cyclops this genocidal maniac worth all the straight man leader Cyclops stories we now lose? Yeah. We can't have those ever again. They're gone.
Well, they kind of almost gave that to Wolverine. It's weird.
It is, isn't it? They've swapped them. And if that was always the plan, if this happened in a shorter period of time and it was organic and you had a consistent, like I can buy Mark's transformation from idealistic young superhero in Invincible all the way through to just killing enemies willy-nilly because that suits his purpose. Because it's all by one writer. It was deliberate. It was intentional. Happened over the place for about 10 years. They've done this so piecemeal, so bits and pieces. It's, Marvel, it's impossible to keep track of a series. You have some event and it's got 10 extra time. Like it's become very hodgepodge for me. So it's hard for me to see the end result and say that's justified. But Murph, you bring up a lot of really good points that when you look at it holistically from a top-down point of you've really convinced me that his transformation is something I could accept.
Well, the thing with Cyclops, because he's so revered, not just X-Men, but the mutant community looks at him as one of the top leaders.
It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, like you know what I mean? Where Magneto, even like the bad people will look at him as a leader. So I think he was like, I gotta take that, I gotta be the Malcolm X now.
Well, that's right. He's echo from Charles. Yeah. He's the prince. He's the heir apparent.
But I think it was weird because it's like Logan took that. Wolverine kind of swept it. So you know what I mean? It's almost like you kind of have that where they changed in each other's areas, and then it came out in different ways. Where honestly, when you think about, it is interesting writing. Wolverine becomes a teacher, and like the actual Professor X when they did Wolverine and the X-Men, and then Cyclops kind of became Magneto is what they did. Wolverine became Professor X, Cyclops became Magneto.
I think that's a good ending for Wolverine to end up in some sort of teaching role. It's not necessarily leadership. It's like moral leadership or, empowering the next generation. Considering he's somebody so long lived, he's got so much to give.
Wolverine always did do that.
Wolverine, when he died, he left in his will for someone to overtake the school. Do you know who he put in his will? Do either of you know that?
No.
Spider-Man. So Peter Parker took over the X-Mansion for a little bit once he died.
That's kind of sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That Wolverine recognizes the
that's even the change of
optimism
Wolverine. You wouldn't have seen that in the 90s. You know what I mean? They really have, changed, whether good or bad.
It's you're bringing up some really good points, Murph, and it shows that
I love the X-Men.
I suppose then the real shame is that so many of these changes are driven by a corporate agenda.
Yeah.
So instead of getting organic, like the way you describe it there, Murph, I'm on board. That sounds great to me. That sounds like a very organic, very natural, very believable transition of characters. However, we know so much of it was pushed by a corporate agenda, and it was done ham-handedly and haphazardly, and then bits are undone, and Kitty Pryde's gay and doesn't love Colossus anymore, and mustard and bigotry, and
they knew they couldn't get rid of them like they did Fantastic Four, which is crazy when you think about it. There wasn't Fantastic Four comics, but that's what they were trying to do, I think, as well. They're like, Wolverine's too popular. We can't destroy him. He makes too much money. But the rest of the X-Men, we could do whatever we want with them. And I think that's what honestly happened.
Yeah.
Because they didn't care. It was all about the MCU. Fox had the X-Men, so.
And that whole thing with trying to minimize the X-Men, take away all the mutants, replace them with the Inhumans, that whole agenda fell flat on us. It was atrocious. It was so badly handled. It was ham-handed. It was insulting. I think that's probably the biggest catalyst for me in seeing how little the people running these companies care about the characters, how much they just care about the bottom line. They're like, we can't make as much money off X-Men as we would like because Fox has got some say over them, or Sony's got some say over them. Therefore, we're just going to completely scuttle that ship, crash and burn, and we're going to reinvest everything in something that we fully own, and we're going to build them up to the X-Men heights. And the fans are like, no. Because they've been following X-Men for 30 years. Inhumans is nothing like the X-Men. There's not even thematic overlap there. You may as well have tried it with the Eternals. Oh, wait.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt.
I hope that Eternals movie is good, though. It sounds like a lot of people are liking it. I've liked everything MCU. I know there are people out there that hate stuff. I know you haven't been watching stuff with the MCU. I think everything they do is they hit it out of the park. The Loki series, I think, was amazing.
I did like the Loki series. Yeah. This stuff after Endgame has kind of been tougher, though.
You need to get Disney Plus and watch all the movies.
I'm not giving Disney my money. I hate those sons of bitches. I hate Netflix and the whole pedo-satanic elite Hollywood cult bullshit. I've gone right down that rabbit hole, brother. They're not getting a cent of my money. I'll burn Hollywood to the ground before they get a cent of my money. But I'm happy to steal it all from the Pirate Bay. Yo ho ho.
Well, watch it on the Pirate Bay.
All right, so Nefarious says, remember the Magneto was right meme? They tried to make a Cyclops was right meme, but it never caught on, probably because Cyclops was wrong, and he even admitted it.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And I think that's another part of breaking that. Like if you ever care, I don't know, there's redemption, and you can screw up, and you can ruin your life and go into bankruptcy and lose your missus and alienate your kids, and then move to another town and start again. But when you're Cyclops, when you're a premier character and you're in the public eye, in their world as well as ours, and you do something and you fail so hard, it's like his brother Havoc. Havoc's always off on some weird, crazy political sideline. It's like 1 minute he's working for the government to hunt down other mutants. The next minute he's working with Magneto.
They've never known what to do with Havoc.
The best thing they ever did with him was that Mutant X, where he went to an alternate universe where he was essentially Cyclops married to Madeline Pryor, running. Oh, brother, it is so good. It's 25 issues of the best Marvel comics you're ever going to read. So he goes to this alternate reality.
What's the comic called?
It's called Mutant X.
Okay.
Yeah, check it out. If you can grab a run from somewhere, digital, physical, whatever. I got the entire run physical. I picked up issue 25 about 6 months ago. I never got it in the newsagents in Australia. It topped off my run. It's so good. And all the X-Men are there, but they're all different. They're altered in some way. They're the most popular superhero team in the world. The Fantastic Four exist, but none of them got any powers. So they simulate their powers through suits and stuff to do other things. He's had an affair with Sue Storm. So there's issues there between him and Reed, and he's basically the leader of the most popular superhero team in the world. There's no Avengers. It's all very, very different. And he's got the memory of our Havoc in this new world, and he's got to sort of fake it. So he's got this wife and he's got this kid and he's leading this team, and he's gone from being Cyclops' little brother to being the Superman of his world, and he's got to sort of deal with that and all the stuff that's coming at them. And mutants are in a lot worse situation in that world than they are in the current 616 at the time current 616 Marvel. And it's just 25 issues of goodness. It's such a nice, neat little run that ends well. It caps it off, segues back into 616 and just picks up. I'd recommend it to anybody who likes Havoc. But just saying, Havoc's always been all over the place. The best thing they did with him, they had to get him out of the universe to do a decent story with him. And Cyclops is sort of, he's well, so he did X Factor. He works for the government, taking down other mutants, and then he joins some other radical group, and he's fighting against Cyclops. Then he joins Magneto, and then he joins the government again. He's all over the place. He doesn't have. Yeah, he doesn't have an ethos. He doesn't stick to something. Cyclops changed his ethos so dramatically and failed. What do you do then? Do you stick with it knowing that you're a failure and everybody goes, you're a failure, that didn't work, Cyclops was wrong? Or do you go, oh, well, I've seen the light, fellas, and Xavier's dream and old Charlie and lead the X-Men. To me, my X-Men and X-Men Assemble, like you can't go back to being Cyclops anymore. I can't go back to being that Cyclops. So who is he now? They don't know. I don't know. I don't know who he is anymore. And so that's why I say that he's broken and he can't be repaired. The amount of redemption and damage,
all of them with the
kid versions.
X, so I think they kind of brought.
Oh right, yes, that's such a mess, brother. I don't even know what that's. Are they even the real X-Men? Are they clones of the X?
I don't think they are. I think it's going to come out that they have all the real, I guess, the genesis of the bodies are asleep. Why these are all just clones. I'm guessing going to end the story is going to be. That's my guess, because they all feel very different.
Yeah, it'd be heartbreaking. I think it's a big. Like I collected X-Men in the '90s through Joe Mad's run and everything, and there's Nimrod and all that sort of stuff. Like there's some Bastion, like all that sort of stuff. There's some good stuff happening. I enjoyed that. That one scene where I think I thought Iceman's father died, and then he turns up in the series later on when Iceman's gay. So I thought he died in that one, but he must have survived. But there's a great cover that Joe Mad did where Iceman's holding his father's body and he's screaming to the sky. That one where Gladiator and Cannonball fought, and Cannonball remembers his training, remembers that Gladiator's power comes from confidence. So he absorbs like Gladiator says, I'm going to give you one punch, knock you out because you're just a kid and I'm Gladiator. So he absorbs all the energy of Gladiator, and at the same instance he absorbs it, channels it back to cancel itself out. Like it defies physics, but he withstands one single punch from Gladiator. And in that 1 second, Gladiator's confidence wanes, and Sam's able to put him down with a punch. And then he even admits that wouldn't work again. I couldn't do that a second time. He knows my trick now. He'd punch straight through me. But it was enough time for him to reason with Gladiator. That was a whole issue, just that one fight between Cannonball and Gladiator. I love that stuff. To be an X-Men fan today and see what they're doing now, it must just break your heart, my man, to be like, well, what is this? Remember when Ben Reilly came back and they tried to say, oh, this is actually the real Peter Parker. And the Peter Parker you've been reading for the last 20 years was the clone. The fans flipped their shit. They were so angry. They were so disenfranchised. They felt lied to. Their love turned to hate. It'd be the same thing. Imagine if they said, oh, last 3 years, all the X-Men you've been reading aren't the real X-Men. Here's the real ones. That was all. It didn't matter. 3 years of filler. Like if he's not using it to reboot the X-Men to a point where they're functional and profitable again, what was the point of them? I thought the thing with Moira McTaggart being a mutant that lived multiple, that was clever. I think that was a clever way. It's it's bullshit. It's hand-wavium, but it's like, okay, that fits the world. It fits what we know about the world. I will accept that if at the end of it, you give me a rebooted X-Men ready to go. And he didn't give us that. He devised the perfect out that I could nod and go, okay, Moira McTaggart's a mutant, multiple realities. I'm down. I'm down. I'm so desperate for a good X-Men, I will accept that with no problems. I will swallow that bowl of shit. And I didn't think that was BS. I thought that was very. I thought it was clever.
How it's clever is, again, they can still reboot it one last time and say this is her last. Yeah. And kill her, and then now what we're reading is the X-Men from now on.
Yeah,
so,
but
they have to get out of
that. Guys, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
What?
Real quick.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me, for one thing? I've had terrible and I was out because it was it was kicking me, and I thought I was losing the whole thing. So
no, we kept going.
You guys seeing each other okay, hearing each other?
Yeah. No, it happens all the time. Dean drops out all the time because I don't know what's up with his computer. It's run by koalas or something. He always drops out, and I just vamp for 10 minutes till he comes back.
Well, that's great, man. You guys were carrying on, so I was like, oh shit, I'm gonna go see if my boys are downloading something and stealing all my Wi-Fi, but they weren't, and it was actually like kicking me off. So I was like, oh man, we're gonna lose the whole show, and I didn't want to because I love that we're getting into these conversations.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think it's been great. So I appreciate how much you guys were talking.
Well, I was saying because the
been a lot
House
of-
of X,
lot of fun.
Cyclops is kind of back to who he is. He's the leader and he's the field. He even says, I feel better out in the field, and that's what he does.
I like that.
Because they all have kind of different jobs. And,
Yeah, which I suppose you
Cyclops is
would.
the field leader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you got multiple leaders there. You got Professor X, you got Magneto, you got Mr. Sinister, you got Apocalypse, you got all these guys that have led their own factions. And it's like, well, who decide who does what? The fact that Cyclops is like the field commander, the dude boots on the ground. I like that. And I like the fact that he feels more comfortable there. That's and this
Well,
is all
I like how they had that where Nightcrawler, Storm, and Jean are also. I thought it was really well done with the characters, like who's doing what, and like even cool things like Juggernaut's not allowed to be there because he's not an actual mutant, and Sabretooth is in this pit, and they're actually that's supposed to be coming out what's going on with him in the pit because they've kind of left that.
So they're not letting him finish that storyline, right?
He left, but I think he's going to come back down. What it seems would happen is he had like 3 or 4 different waves of the story, and like they're in the second or third wave, and all the other people really like where they are, so they want it to continue. And he's like, I'll come back when you're ready to like finish where I wanted to go with the story.
But that sucks because, you know, when you have the writer having a vision and he's passionate about the characters, we're not going to get the full story. We're going to get a half-cocked story and then somebody else coming in the middle, and then it's going to be, it's filler and it's a bunch of crap.
And this is why you get these corporate decisions again. They're hobbling the characters and the character progression to push a corporate. Hey, we're going to make more money this way. I don't see it. I only hear negatives. There's 2 types of people I think that review comic books. I'm in a little writing collective of up and coming writers and bounce ideas and stuff off each other. It hasn't been very active lately through COVID and that, but they're there. And some of them are these young fellas, and they've only sort of started reading comics in the last 10 years or so, and they love everything that comes out. Now, I've been reading comics since I was 5, and I'm 40 now. So it's 35 years of comics. Starting with the Silver Age stuff right up to stuff that's coming out today. And I look at a lot of what comes out today and I absolutely loathe it because I've got that perspective. These guys who have only read Dan Slott's Spider-Man think that's doing a great job right now. I'm looking and going, that's not Peter Parker. You go back to pre-Clone Saga with Mark Bagley on artwork, Randy Emblin doing inks, Spider-Man fighting for his life against Dr. Octopus and the virus, and Stunner and Mary Jane smoking, and Nick Katzenberg getting lung cancer. Like, that was some heavy grown-up shit. Now Spider-Man's this kooky femboy. I hate it. So these young people, I don't think they've got a lot of perspective. So when it comes to people reviewing books, and like some new X-Men stuff comes out with on the island and clone bodies and that sort of stuff, you see a review from Zach, and he's like, it's nothing. They're treading water. All the mutants stand around. Nobody does anything. They live in this weird organic jungle city, but it's like nobody... They're sitting and drinking or talking. Like, that's not paradise. That's boring. They had more fun at the mansion. And so he hates it. And I'm on that sort of perspective. I don't think I would like it. I haven't read it, but I don't think I would. Then you've got these young people who probably picked up X-Men when Hugh Jackman first started, or even after that, and they're reading and going, yeah, that's right. And they're like, I love this. I love it. Oh, on the island, and it's talking about like politics and race and speciesism and all that sort of stuff. And we're just like going, can we get some Sentinels? Can we get Bastion back? You know,
Lee, this is how I take the X-Men for me because I love them so much.
Sure,
is the X-Men are pizza to me. Even when you get it bad, it's still pizza.
I like that, brother.
It's true. He doesn't like to say a damn thing bad about him. It's funny.
No, I'll admit, like, there's some of those movies are, oh my god.
Oh, I'd say pretty much all of them.
Phoenix and,
pretty much all of them suck. So,
I mean,
and I'm the one that got you kind of finally realize that the Fox movies
I
were
knew X-Men 3 was bad before I ever met you. Stop it. No one liked that movie. Not even the person.
You didn't know the first two.
The first two still.
You even thought the continuity was great, and it sucks. They don't even know how to do continuity in those movies. It's terrible.
Hey, X2 is okay. If you put it against the MCU, no, but even the Spider-Man movies aren't good up to the MCU.
Oh, shit. I'll take Sam Raimi's Spider-Man movies any day.
You would.
Any day over those X-Men movies.
I think
Punches a girl and dances. He goes emo.
Spider-Man 2
I
is still
love
probably the best Marvel movie made that wasn't even made by Marvel.
Right.
It's good, but it's not that good compared to the MCU stuff.
I'd have to go back and rewatch it. It's been a few years, but I remember watching Spider-Man 2, thinking this is this is the perfect superhero movie. Like Keaton Batman killed people, which I don't like.
Perfect.
Christopher Reeve Superman, like he turns up and he saves the day and he's Superman and he stops the helicopter and he saves Lois, and then he confronts Gene Hackman, gets a kryptonite necklace, takes it off, turns time back, saves the day. It's like sort of nothing really happens. I know I just said a bunch of stuff, but it wasn't a lot. Like it's a movie, and he kind of just stands around looking like Superman for most of it. Now I love that movie, and to me it's beyond reproach. But I do kind of feel like it wasn't a lot of.
Future Past was a good movie. It was.
I liked elements of it.
Yeah, pieces of it. I don't love Logan at all. I hated Logan. So
Logan
agree with you, Crazy
me.
Mad. Yeah, it's depressing.
Logan's not even a superhero movie.
Nah,
no,
I don't feel like it either.
X-Men movies.
I think the ending is the worst thing you could do for the character.
Yeah,
like,
it was terrible.
He finally has a daughter and he can be at peace, and it's like, no, we'll just kill him. Well, that was a great life.
And I sort of look at all this experience and everything he has, all the input that he has, all the good that he could do, and he could like she was his redemption, a life of killing, and he's become like basically a glorified chauffeur, changing Charles's nappy. That's an awful ending. Yeah. So she was a chance for him to do something better, to be the father he never got to be, and then they took it away from him. And I look at like the opportunity cost. Stick to your guns, Crazy Mad. Never give up on it, brother. You lost Wolverine, one of the most learned, knowledgeable. Like he's lived for 200 years by this point. Like there's no one else like him. You lost him to save a half a dozen 10-year-old mutants. Like that's not a good trade to me. That thematically,
they're going.
I agree with you on that.
Comic books.
They could walk around the corner, get shot, being mistaken for deer, and that's the end of it. Like it's not, to me. It's like when a hero dies, what's he dying for? It's got to be worthwhile, you know. And that's why one of my problems with Batman vs Superman was, you know, Superman died to stop Doomsday, but aside from the military going, his power is unlimited, there's not really in the comics. Doomsday face rolled the Justice League in 2 pages. He pushed Wonder Woman 10 inches into the ground. He broke Booster Gold's arm through his armor. He took out Green Lantern in one hit. Like he just face rolled the entire lot of them. And he went from wherever he was all the way through to Metropolis, and he took out every hero in America. And he left a trail of destruction. And you realize this is it. This is it. If he doesn't get stopped here, he doesn't get stopped. And when Superman died stopping him, you believe it. In the movie, it's like, here's this big gray lumpy monster, and then Superman dies.
He's a cave troll from Lord of the Rings.
Even in the movie,
he looks like a mortal.
He knows he can barely fly, holding the pole. Hand it to Wonder Woman,
or just throw that shit. Just javelin. You know, you probably did track and field, Clark. Just No,
it's just weird. Like
poorly conceived, and the whole thing with the spear being like Spear of Longinus, Christ parable type.
That pissed me off.
I wanted to pull back from that.
That pissed me off.
Like that's seminal stuff. That's the foundation of Western civilization. You can't not have that stuff around. But I want him to pull back on that stuff from Superman because it hangs stuff on him that makes him heavier and darker than he needs to be. When it's all about sacrifice and death, he doesn't get to be this beacon of hope. So again, you know, Snyder went off script, and we get a Superman that's less than Superman, and that's he's not broken yet. But what they're doing with him in the comics, they knew they couldn't afford to break him, so they push him into a back. I'd like to see this thing I've wanted for a long time. When they did New 52, and they wiped out, I suppose you call it the Bronze Age DC, which started with John Byrne working on Superman, Man of Steel in 1986, through to whenever New 52 sort of happened with Flashpoint and everything. I'd like them to do a Generations type thing. They didn't have to wipe out that Bronze Age world. That could have still existed. But if you did that, people would continue to have ownership over those characters. Like that Superman there would still be my Superman, and the new version that died of kryptonite poisoning wouldn't be the new Superman. So they couldn't do it. But I would love to have seen them continue that on almost in real time. Let Superman grow a beard, become a dad, take a back step while this new generation of heroes is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Let Nightwing become Batman. Let Bruce go and become more of a like Oracle type, organizing his little Bat Legion family. Dude, because John Byrne, John Byrne's He's done generations, and it goes for like the next 1,000 years of the DC universe, starting in 1938 with Superman, 1939 with Superman. It goes to like 2000 or 3039.
And he
Superman's
does that where they like retire and stuff.
Yeah, and it follows the whole life through like 1,000 years. Batman becomes immortal. Superman gives him a serum. Superman marries Lana Lang, and she becomes immortal. And she's like, "I finally got you. I waited 1,000 years for you. Finally, Lois is dead. Finally, Earth is safe. Finally, I get to have you, Smallville, from that time when we were kids and we grew up together." There's a lot of beauty in it. He does the whole thing. There's generations too. Murph, I think it'll be right up your alley, brother. Go check it out if you get a chance. I'd like to see.
I only read now comics if they're in omnibus form. I need it to be oversized art. So if they don't have it, couldn't say. DC's really bad with making omnibuses.
They are. So I'd like if they did that with the Bronze Age. They kept that going simultaneous to New 52. But I think that would have solved a whole lot of problems, because then you still got your characters that you can bring back and you can go back to, and it would have kept people that are interested in that. Because I didn't like the New 52. I didn't like the high collars. I didn't like the redesigns. I didn't like who the hell is Bruce Wayne. I didn't like any of it. I
didn't like any of that.
That for me,
DC just kept rebooting and rebooting.
The art was nice though of New 52.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there.
Yeah.
That for me, I think that's when I really, between that and Civil War, that's when I really dipped out of the big two, because I realized something that people have been saying for years.
Good art too.
Oh, beautiful, Steve McNiven.
Yeah.
I have boys. I have 2 testicles. I would give up one of them to be able to draw reliably like Steve McNiven at any point in time the rest of my life. I have 2. I got kids. I'm good. I only need one nut to bust. If someone says, we will painlessly take your left testicle and you'll be able to draw Steve McNiven level art for the rest of your life, let's go. Grab the scissors. I'm good.
You,
like, he's so good, man.
I don't think anybody wants that.
He is good.
I don't think you're gonna get it. Like, I don't even know if you get $1. Like,
it's maybe not a fair trade. Maybe I get the best end of the deal. But that's how I'm saying. That's how good Steve McNiven's stuff is. Like, it's right. And Old Man Logan, when he did the work on that, beautiful artwork, beautiful stuff. Like, when he's good, he's great. Yeah. I will not deny that there's some great modern art.
The Venom. A T-Rex became Venom.
Yeah, there's some good stuff in there. Yeah. But that's all. It's all such a downer though. Like, there's no hope. You get to the end of it, and he's got little baby Hulk on his back, and it's like, but I'm not filled with that sense of hope. I'm not filled of here's a new adventure. It's like your family's still dead. Hulk's been brought down as a character.
Hulk can be his family's dead for no reason.
Yeah, it all feels mean-spirited, and there's a lot of this stuff. Marvel Zombies feels mean-spirited. A lot of this stuff just feels like them Alan Moore-esque deconstructing heroes, breaking them down, bringing them down to a level.
Yes,
Injustice felt like that for me.
Man.
Admittedly, I haven't read all of Injustice, Murph, so I can't say your love of it is wrong. And
I like it because they elevate a lot of your minor characters too. Because they can kill characters off.
Yeah. There's a lot of C and D characters that don't get enough.
They kill Robin, and it's a great way they do it. It's Damian's fault. And
yes. And I did see that.
Bruce is like, this is my son. And it's interesting because you got the dichotomy now as Superman just lost his son, and now Batman lost his. And they're still at this war of odds of looking at the world. And it's like, there's a lot of good writing in it. It really, really is good writing.
I believe you. I don't think I could get past how mean it feels to me. Just like, because I'm not saying you can't put your characters.
Doesn't seem mean. I mean, Wonder Woman.
Is the meanest the writers have towards the characters. I don't feel like they like the characters. I don't feel like they love the characters. I put my characters through hell.
Green Lantern. Flash especially has a lot of heart in Injustice because he's even like, what are we doing? Like, he questions things, and it's there's a lot to it. Like, even Catwoman has a big arc in it. Harley Quinn, like, it's really well done. Like, I would say Wonder Woman's probably the only character that's done bad because Wonder Woman uses everything to get Superman to be her lover. She looks at it as now that Lois is gone, I can finally have him. And so she's like pushing Superman to be more aggressive. So she's actually written worse.
I could see that I could see that in like a post-apocalyptic situation where she's like, we need to rebuild, we need to meet the best people ever. I'm the best woman, he's the best man, he's a noble, good man.
That's what it is, yeah.
Okay.
And she kind of comes off like as a queen of Greek or Roman where she's like, you got to do these things. And a
pretty extreme set of circumstances because that seems very unlike her. It's this sort of like survivalist mentality when you take everything else away. Like, I like you guys, but if it was
Adam. And so that's why
Well, I don't believe that's possible.
See, I don't think Superman's badly as written. Well, she says you can't kill gods; you can just have them go away. And actually, he has a great scene where he talks to Billy. What's the Shazam?
Billy Batson.
And he goes to Shazam. He's like, Shazam, I know you have a good heart. Make sure this doesn't go this far. And so there's a lot of really good writing in it, because it does put a lot of the characters, to the farthest they can go, and where is their heart, where is their moral.
And that's when you find who a man is, when you put him in extreme situations. Yeah, okay.
I want to put this in perspective for you guys a little bit. So Murph is fairly new to the DC universe, though. Yes. I mean, so this is Batman. A big story for him.
I've always been into Batman, so I know
Batman. Yeah, but in the overall universe, you weren't as familiar with a lot of the characters. So I think with getting with that story, it kind of introduced you to some things that you hadn't seen before.
Like even Green Lantern. I love Green Lantern now.
Yeah.
What's that? That's an omnibus.
It's an omnibus. What is it, yeah.
You guys know the Who's Who?
I do not.
No, I don't know what that is.
Oh, boys.
Is it Justice League of America?
It's every single DC character that's ever existed.
Okay.
1986 through to, I want to say, like 92.
That's
all right.
Awesome.
Every single DC character, the power levels, their abilities, the history. Blue Devil. I love Blue Devil, man.
Oh,
like you talk about C and D level characters that don't get enough love. Look at this. Look how big this son of a bitch is.
Yeah.
Now, I just bought one for Marvel, but I want to get one of those too, because I love a lot of those characters.
Yeah, and what I like about this is it doesn't have, like the Marvel handbook's got superhuman class, this, and that. It doesn't say this. It just says Superman is super strong, one of the strongest characters on the planet. It doesn't put a hard limit on things. So then it leaves, because, there's a bit there where like Sasquatch from Alpha Flight is superhuman class 75, and then you see him pick up a jet, and some fan wrote in and said those jets are 300 tons. He couldn't pick that up. By putting hard limits on stuff, you limit the stories that you can tell.
Right.
Which why, again, if you break a character, if you take Cyclops to genocidal madman, you can never do inspirational heir apparent leader for all mutants again that he was. I remember
honestly just make him a villain, honestly.
Yeah.
Where else can you go? Like at the point where you've got your convictions and the whole world's saying you're wrong, you're the bad guy. You're like, well, fuck it, I'll be the bad guy then, because I'm not changing what I believe. Right. I can see, like Harley Quinn does all this horrible stuff, and then she has a redemption arc. If you write it well, I can see it. But when you've gone from good to bad, I don't really feel like you can go back to good. Like, how can you be that misguided? Go all the way on the other end of the spectrum.
Magneto has.
I find Magneto's goodness, his return to good, to be highly dubious. The amount of horrible crimes he's done, and the length of the life that he's lived, and the horrors that he's seen, and how strict he was in his hatred of mankind, I don't feel like there is redemption for him. When they had Joseph, his clone,
Holocaust.
I'm not saying he's wrong for feeling the way he feels. If I was in the same situation when I was younger, I was like, I get Magneto. I get why he feels the way that he does. But then I realized I'm human and he'd be happy to see me dead. So fuck him.
That's true. He would.
But I'm all about humanity first. I'm all about humanity. It's like, Eric, I get it. I get why you're angry. I get that you want to protect your people.
He dated the Wasp. She's human. She doesn't even have a power. She just wears a suit. So, okay.
That's the thing where you look
at the Wasp.
Janet's got it going on, especially the movie one. She's a good-looking woman, that movie Wasp. I don't know what the actress's name is, but holy dooly, she's in good shape. You look at the spectrum of what a character has done in the history of their comic life, and I think most people, you could sort of go through it. I think probably most people think like me, and you go, I accept that. It's called headcanon. Yes, no, yes, no, no, yes. I accept this. That's out of character. I don't, because so much stuff's been done and undone and forgotten about, and Marvel's moved to this non-continuity type storytelling where if a writer wants a past event to have happened, it has. If they don't, then they just ignore it, and Bendis pushed for it, and he got what he wanted. He said, I don't care about continuity. If I want to have Wolverine in this part of the world, but historically he was somewhere else, my story matters because I'm writing it now, I'm getting paid for it, and that's what the people are buying this month. So he threw the baby out with the bathwater. So I think everybody has a headcanon. Something like, a lot of Magneto stuff when he had mental problems and he's been under influence of the magnetic field and he's led the X-Men for a while. He had that big goofy M on his chest when Professor X was out and stuff. I liked it in the cartoon when they were stuck in the Savage Land and they were like allies out of necessity.
Isn't blind, is he?
Sorry?
Did you see what he just said?
I don't know.
I don't get it. Aardvark, I just don't understand.
Takes all sorts. It's
that's all right. To each their own, man.
You know me. You know what I've said.
Oh, I know. I feel, I'm pretty close to you on that one too.
Yeah.
You and I agree wholeheartedly. Well, okay. So this has been a great conversation, man. I love this. So I think what we can all agree is
we all agreed Superman is the worst written character of all time. We don't need him anymore. He's better evil. And
I'll agree that he was worse written. I won't agree that we don't need him. We always need Superman.
Yeah, that's
always.
One thing, that is one thing that I do like about DC is no matter what's going on, everybody in the room always knows Superman is the one to go and get. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like even Batman's like, we need Superman, or Lex is like, we need Superman. Like Marvel doesn't have that, where they're like, oh, we need Spider-Man, or we need Iron Man, or we like it's always like, oh, we can get the Hulk or Fantastic Four. There's no A and then everyone else is B, but Superman is that. Like everyone's like, even Green Lantern will be like, I need Superman.
The thematic role that Superman holds is held by Captain America, but because, like we've said before, Captain America is just better than a human, he doesn't have the agency to make change. So it's a really interesting point you bring up there, Murph, where Superman does both those roles. And in Marvel, they might say, oh, we need Hulk for this thing, or we might need Thor for this thing because they're strong. Neither of them are inspirational leaders. Nobody rallies behind the Hulk. And Thor, I mean, the Marvel version of Thor is a lot kinder than the traditional mythology version of Thor, which is a horrible rapist and stuff. But I mean, look at Hercules in the Marvel universe. He's he had to pay for. He's been criticized for some of the actions that he did. 12 trials and everything he did to the Amazons and that sort of stuff. So, even as a leader, Thor's more like he's happy to kill someone. He doesn't mind killing in combat. So he doesn't have that inspirational role that Cap does. I think it's really interesting that you bring that up, and that ultimately Marvel doesn't have a Superman. The closest they have in power levels to a Superman is Sentry, who's almost the thematic opposite of Superman. So is that their commentary on Superman?
And he's crazy.
That's what I mean. They're subverting the whole Superman thing. He's got
the void thing. So
yeah. So Crazy Mad says, I think Supes and Cyclops can be broken as people. Cap, I don't think he breaks. Do we agree with that? What do you guys think?
Yeah.
I don't know if I fully agree. I mean, I think that's what we've been saying is that Supes and Cyclops have been broken too much and pushed.
But they can be. He's right. You can't do it to Cap. Cap.
I don't think you could. I don't think you could do it to Supes as much.
I think you can.
I'm gonna say that it's been done.
Alien.
When you say can do it. When you say can
you can do anything.
it has been done, and Cyclops and Superman have been broken more, and they've got more stories of them as broken than Cap. Like there's very few broken Cap stories. So you look at when he's lost his shield, we got an energy shield. When there's a time there where he had all the super serum soldier removed from his body, and they thought he'd go back to being a regular dude, and he got tested, and they're like, no, it's so integral to your cell structure. Once a super soldier, always like taking the blood out of your body, giving you a full body blood transfusion, didn't remove the serum. You are the serum now. So he still kept his Cap powers. Like when he became Nomad, when he became the Captain, he never broke. He always come back stronger. Even in Earth X, when he's like a slower, older, broken down Captain America, he still wasn't broken. He still had the A, he still had the shield, he still fought. He was confused, but he still wanted to do the right thing. I think people saying these characters can be broken because they have been broken, but I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, that I don't agree with those stories. It comes back to headcanon.
That's what I am.
When you've got a broken Superman story, because you've got two people, you show them a broken Superman story, and I say, should never have happened. I don't count it as headcanon. The man I know to be Superman would never do that. And then Murph goes,
that's the way I feel. I'm right 100%.
See, I'm going to disagree, because Superman, I feel like almost Superman's more human than Cap is. Because Cap's a soldier, I don't think you can break him. Where Superman, you could definitely break him with Lois. You kill Lois, it breaks him every time. Like,
except for the times that it didn't. You know, like Kingdom. I would say Kingdom Come Superman wasn't broken; he was just taking a long break.
Yeah, but that's an alternate. That's an alternate. That's not actual like canon.
so Justice isn't canon either. It's just another alternate universe.
Right.
Well, yeah, but if you go into the whatever crisis on Infinite
Multiverse.
Earths, Superman makes bad decisions because of emotions.
Yeah. They can always make bad decisions, but I think
But Cap's not going to make a bad decision.
I still think Supes would hold fast to a lot of ideals, but he don't.
Sure.
And they change him. And I think it goes right back to being misunderstood from the writers.
I'm going to say this.
Changed him.
If someone's morality, like if a character's morality depends on my life being saved, not superpowers, I trust Cap more than I trust Superman or Cyclops.
You see that one where
that fully.
When Prometheus took over the Justice League satellite, and there was a whole bunch of reporters up there doing a story on the new Justice League satellite. I think it was like issue 7 or something of Grant Morrison's run. Prometheus takes over the whole thing. He's got it all locked down. All the really powerful heroes are taken out. He takes out Batman in hand-to-hand combat. You've got all these human reporters up there in the void of space. And Prometheus says,
Aardvark.
Well, let's do that and I'll finish my point.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry. It was making me laugh so hard I couldn't even take it. He styled himself after Joe Biden when he got older. So
I wonder if that was intentional. There's a lot of visual overlap there.
He does look like him.
He does.
Oh my gosh.
It's so good.
So
anyway,
Prometheus says, it's all right. He says to Superman, I've locked down all the oxygen and everything. We're out in space. You're electric Superman, so you don't have your regular Superman powers. You can't save these people unless I let them get in the teleporter. I control it all. I control the oxygen. I control the teleporters. We're up here in the void of space. These people die unless you do what I say. And he says, okay, what do you want? He goes, I want you to destroy your containment suit and kill yourself. And Superman says, righto, do I have your word that you're going to let these people go if I do that? He goes, I don't care about these people. Of course I'll let them go. I want to see you dead. And Superman was in the process of killing himself to save the lives of a half a dozen people that he doesn't personally know. That's would Cap do the same?
Yes.
I want to say yes. I'd actually probably say, hold on. I'm not saying morally he wouldn't. Sure, he would. If Cap was in a situation where he had no way out, but because he's a soldier and because he's like a military man and a leader, he'd be more likely to like sacrifice those 6 to save 600 more. Or, Superman saw his impossible situation and said, I think Superman's more willing to die for people. He's more because he still feels like he has to prove himself being an alien from another world. He's still deep down. He still has like this Christ-like need to die for us.
I think
Cap probably would have. Cap would go like, okay, these 6 die. I take you out, and then I save the other 6 billion on the world, sort of thing. I think Cap might be more willing to let that happen.
All I know is this: if you take the actual Marvel timeline and Cap does stuff, and the actual DC line canon stuff, Superman has made way more emotional bad choices than Captain America ever has.
But Kevin, I think that's the point I was trying to make earlier, is that the reason why they did that was because he kept getting, how many times Superman has been rebooted and restarted? Like, he's been reinvented several times over because they don't get him. And that's what I'm trying to tell you.
That's not Captain America's fault. Like, look at when Cap goes.
That's not what I'm saying. You're missing the point.
Thanos.
The point is he's not holding on to his ideals, and it's because they keep reinventing him and they change those ideals. They move them just a little bit more. And so we know that those ideals, as the true Superman, we want that out of him, but yet they keep on doing these things with him in the stories.
That's like even going back in the 80s with the Infinite.
That's what I'm telling you. They've rebooted him because the writers don't know what to do.
Been at least 4 Supermen in the time there's been 1 Captain America. Marvel's never had a reset.
Oh, that's a good point.
That's what I'm saying.
So you got Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, and then you got the Jim Lee version of Superman with the high collar. And I'd also say, like I say, if I remember saying, there's a Captain America issue, he's just fighting some purple dude on a bridge, and it was just this filler episode. Anybody could have done it. For a long time. Captain America was in the Avengers and doing a single title. Superman's had a run of 4 issues a month for decades, So I'd say there's and all this on Justice League, all the other stuff. I'd say there's a wider range of stories. Like it's like saying we've got America's got more pro wrestlers than Australia. It's like, well, you got 10 times our population. Of course you do. Of course, it's just a per capita thing. There's been more Superman stories. There's probably more stories of bad,
I agree with
and
that.
because he is such an icon, I think people do take a shot at him. But look, I'm not going to say anybody's interpretation of these characters is wrong. Like, it is headcanon. The way Murph sees characters is legitimate to him. The way I see characters, and this leads to these great conversations. What happens is when a writer comes in and disregards, because there's certain overlap. There's a Venn diagram. We could all agree on certain things, and that's the core. Doomed planet, rocketed infant, kindly couple in Kansas. Like, we can agree on that. Child who saw his parents die in an alleyway to violence, pearls hitting the floor, blood drops hitting the alley floor. We can agree on that. If we can agree on that, we can forge a unified vision of these characters. When you have a writer come in,
with the pearls, though, aren't we?
Oh yeah. And I made mention of that in one of my review videos. It's like the Adam West Batman never mentioned his motivation. He was always just about justice. It's always about justice. He never mentioned his parents dying or anything in the whole Adam West run. Then 20 years later, the next Batman we get is Michael Keaton, and Tim Burton very cleverly only shows like a 1 minute 30 clip of his parents dying, the pearls hitting the floor, and that's it. So in 30 years of Batman media, we get 1.5 minutes detailing his motivation. And I posit that's all you need. So when I read a Comicsgate book, an indie book that comes through, thank you, an indie book that comes through, and they spend half their issue or 2/3 of their issue doing doing the backstory of a character, I'm like, Tim Burton only needed 1.5 minutes, and people go, oh, but you've had Batman animated series and Christian, but at the time you didn't though. Back in the 80s, 1989, you had Adam West, and that was pretty much the only way people saw Batman in the public consciousness. Then you had Michael Keaton and 1.5 minutes of pearls hitting the floor.
Dan, and that was read that out loud. No, I'm sorry, Lee, but
I was just trying to let Chemo finish his point.
I'm sorry, Lee. Go ahead.
No, that's all right. I'm just reading Ardvark's point. Superman is badly written today because the people who write the books are incapable of aspiring to be something better than they are, live in a culture encouraged to be your worst self. I've said that a lot of times, man. I always quote, and I'll quote myself, it's a race to the bottom of the barrel. It's a race to the bottom of the barrel of these people. I see it all the time. I used to do like volunteer work with young people, trying to help them get their school certificates and the HSC and stuff to get to a point where they could get a job and pass that sort of stuff. And some of these young people, it's like they'd sit around like, oh, I'm so dumb. I did this, and this was so stupid. Oh, I'm dumber than that. I did this, and it's even more. Like there's this race to this cultural bottom of the barrel to be as low, as debased, as minimalistic, as unimportant, as irrelevant as they can possibly be. And for some reason, that's seen as a good thing. So I totally get what Aardvark says. And I guess this is the crux of what we're all saying. We could all write a good Superman story because we know the ethos of what makes that character work. We might take him in different directions, but we come back to we originate in the same point. These people that are coming in are ignoring that Venn diagram of overlap that the fans have. They're ignoring that origin point, and they're injecting their own ideas into it. Unfortunately, their ideas are these minimalist, irreverent, race to the bottom of the barrel type ideas. So they bring down our heroes. It's Alan Moore's legacy. They're continuing to you don't need to deconstruct Superman. I wouldn't say he's beyond deconstruction.
We've had enough of it.
We have had enough. He should be beyond deconstruction. They should say, all right, look, guys, for the next couple of years, no deconstruction of Superman. Read Man of Steel, Secret Origins, and All-Star Superman. Like All-Star Superman.
Exactly right.
As deconstructive I want.
Time to get back to the core of the character and make him that character. Show him that character as that character.
So you too, because you know more. What is the core of Superman? To me, Captain America's the core is I'm going to do the right thing no matter the sacrifice for myself.
I think Lee said it earlier.
Catch them when they fall.
Yep, catch them when they fall.
I mean, you can pass it down to Truth, Justice, the American Way. You can pass it down to the ultimate immigrant story. You can pass it down to A Better Tomorrow. But I would ultimately say Superman's job, he feels, is to catch us when we fall. Which is why he doesn't do the injustice type stuff where he becomes this proactive, almost dictator who and there's stories to be told there, and they have been told, but to catch us when we fall. And in that way, I think that's why he's bigger than any other hero, not just because he was first, not just because he's ostensibly more powerful, but his agenda is a non-agenda. He's this giant pillow that keeps mankind safe. And everybody else has got, Spider-Man is great power, great responsibility. He feels motivated to get out and do stuff. Superman's almost more lackadaisy. He's got this godlike, Christ-like, and I know I said I want to move away from that, but like Christ's purpose was to save everybody, to bring he said, I'm here, but you're not all going to choose to follow me. Superman, see, I'm here to save you, but you're not all going to choose to let me save you. He's got the same sort of, there's a great panel where Grant Morrison wrote it, I believe. No, it was Garth Ennis. And Superman's floating above and he sees the entire world. And he says something very Christ-like. He says, if Earth, mankind, if you knew how loved you were, and the subtext is by me, if you knew how loved you were, none of you would raise a hand to one another ever again. He's like, if you knew how much I loved you and how much love I had for you people who I'm not really a part of, but I wish I was, you would feel so loved by me. My immense power would be so overwhelming. You would not have motivation to hurt one another again because everything would be, all your needs would be taken care of. And that's a very biblical message, the idea that there's this endless love that God has to give to people.
Because the one Superman movie, I think it was Superman Returns, where it was that they did tons of Christian imagery in that movie. Why didn't that movie work?
Well, I mean, it was just
Kevin
poor
Spacey,
writing.
Lex Luthor.
A big part of it, I think, is lack of action. It was like a thematic piece. It was almost like you see like an art installation or an art performance, and someone's doing some weird thing where they're covered in milk.
It was weird as hell. Let's be honest.
Like, it's like what even is this?
It was written weird.
Message.
It was.
They got so
sidetracked. What was the crux of the story? He had left Earth and come back. I didn't get all that. Like it was a weird premise, man.
Yeah,
it was constantly said
it was fun, even though she was with someone else.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be like
I didn't get it, man.
Thematic continuation of the first two Superman movies.
Do you feel like they did Superman right with what they did with him in that movie, or no?
I think there was a level of love and care for mankind that he showed. Like this, when he, he's been gone for so long, and then he turns up and he saves the day, and the reverence people have when they look for him. That and to be that person, I think he did that better than Henry Cavill did. I don't think much else about it worked. Dumbing down the colors, making them really drab brown instead of red. I don't think Routh was big enough. But I mean, you look at Christopher Reeve; he wasn't very big either. When he was playing Superman, he put on a lot of muscle. Apparently, he's a really lean bloke, a track star and stuff. But I would like to have seen Brendan Routh put on more size for it.
Me too.
Thematically, I think it was a very confused movie, and then it retreaded stuff that was done in the first Superman movie with Christopher Reeve. I don't see the need in doing it again.
That was the point of that, right? It was supposed to be a direct sequel to those first
like a spiritual successor.
Yeah. Like the third one never happened.
But I think that was the downfall of that movie, really, to be honest. So it was too far removed from it. So well, hey guys, I mean, it's going on 2 hours and 15 minutes.
Derek, this is how we get more subscribers. We're going on now.
Yeah, but my wife needs to go to bed, so she's got to get up. So I'm just like, I'm hogging the bedroom right now so I can stream.
Oh no! If you got to get up and go to work, you got to knock this on the head. Then that's
yeah, man.
Yeah. That's my whole world revolves around making sure my wife gets to bed on time, making sure she gets up in time, she gets a breakfast, she gets a coffee, she gets a lunch, and she's out the door. Because if that doesn't happen, none of this happens. I don't get to buy DC omnibuses. I don't get to make comics. That's got to be my priority. And I'm going to be on with Aardvark tomorrow morning.
Good.
So drop by the channel there, probably a couple of hours before this one started.
What's the
tomorrow?
YouTube
It's just doing a design stream on my channel, Kemosabe Returns.
Okay.
Very cool. Yeah.
And guys, there's no reason we couldn't do this sort of semi-regularly. Just sort of pick two characters that maybe have thematic overlap. Or
I would love to, man. I love this. I love this.
Once a fortnight, once a month, or whatever works for you guys. My time's pretty flexible, and we just because I love talking about these stories, these characters, bringing up these runs that people might not know about. I've been reading comics my whole life, so I'm not as much an expert as some people, but I do know stuff that maybe some other people have forgotten, and it's just great to be able to bring it up.
I feel like you're head and shoulders above me on some of this stuff because you've read a whole lot more than I have. And some of the stuff that I read so long ago, I don't remember all the stories as much.
Yeah.
So, but that's great. I mean, that's why I had you on, also because of your passion for it, because I am passionate about these three characters. I mean, Cyclops, probably the least out of the three, but I still love that character. I still love that. You're missing me. I still love Cyclops, but I think Cap and Superman they're two of my most favorite characters of all time.
Yeah.
And in terms of cultural impact, I look at it in terms of which characters could I not live without more. Out of the three, Superman matters the most.
Right.
Then Cap matters the next. If I had to lose one, I'd lose Cyclops. If I had to lose two, it'd be Cap and Cyclops. I love them all, and Cap, Cyclops, and Iron Fist are my 3 favorite Marvel characters.
Wow, Iron Fist, really?
I love
do you
Iron Fist.
recommend anything with Iron Fist?
Is it Brubaker's run with the Immortal Iron Fist with the living weapons?
I'll have to check that out.
He goes to Kunlun, and he finds out that Kunlun's not the only one. There's 6 or 7 other holy temples around the world that teach their own Iron Fist type style, and they all come together for this big Mortal Kombat tournament. And Iron Fist is the champion of Kunlun. He's like, yeah, too easy. He walks in there and gets murked on the first fight, just gets completely blown out and sent home. And he's like, oh shit, like I'm a living weapon. I've trained for this my entire life. But he spent so much time being Denny Rand, a millionaire, that he gets completely blown out in the first fight, and he has to reassess everything. So it's kind of almost like a bit of a reboot for him, saying here's the core of the character, and the tournament one. And the art's fantastic. They do some really great, lean sort of combat panels.
Check that out.
Yeah, check it out. You can find it online pretty easy.
Okay.
If you're that way inclined. I certainly am these days. Welcome.
So Brubaker wrote it, right? Ed Brubaker?
I think so. Okay.
Why don't they ever put him in any crossovers? Like any big Marvel event, he's not even around.
No, these days I think it's he's still seen as a street level character, but in the second Secret War, he took out Colossus in one punch. The Iron Fist just knocked Colossus right out. So it's serious.
Yeah. Well, I think Power Man and Iron Fist are way more powerful than they're shown to be.
Well, Luke Cage has been big in the New Avengers run. Like
I think there's racial elements at play there. I think you're going to lean into people are going to run into that whole thing. He's a white, blonde, blue-eyed male taking cultural appropriate. But that's always like Tarzan. Tarzan's not blonde, but Tarzan, the Phantom. There's all these guys that have gone to ancient, distant lands. Lawrence of Arabia, like he's politically incorrect. That's right. He's a white martial artist who does it better than they do. They don't. Yeah. The people who run things don't like that. I don't think if you showed some Asiatic creators, if they're being honest, you said, what do you think about Iron Fist? They either love him or don't care. I don't think any of them would really hate him, but now it's performative.
When they created him, why did they make him a white male? Because you do have Shang-Chi, who's been around for a long time. He's not a white male. Like, why did they decide to do that?
I do think it's the Tarzan type thing, the civilized white man conquering and I'm using their sort of language, the savage nations. It's the Alan Quatermain. It's all those guys. Yeah, Kit Walker, the Phantom. Like he's this white guy. He looks like Superman or Batman in terms of his his dark hair, white features and everything. But he's the king of Africa. He was king of Africa before Wakanda was even a gleam in Jack Kirby's eye. I think he was that white colonial sort of manifesto. And in the 70s, Bruce Lee was really big. But Asiatic stars weren't popular on the screen. So there's still this sort of whole Chuck Norris, Van Damme, David Carradine type thing where white guys, I mean, he's essentially, Iron Fist is David Carradine's character out of Kung Fu. Like David Carradine's character had to lift the burning pot with his wrists because you couldn't use your hands, and it gave him the 2 burn marks on his wrists. Iron Fist did the same thing, plunged his hand into the heart of the dragon, made his fist like unto a thing of iron, and then the dragon's symbol was burnt into his chest. That's why he's got that shape. Yeah, fish out of type thing. So it's that whole white colonial thing going in and doing better than they do, the exotic. Look at Avatar, same thing.
With you loving him so much, would you be mad if they changed him to being Asian? Like
he wouldn't be the same. Wouldn't be the same character.
Yeah, it's not the same, man.
I posit that and it's funny because the people who want to talk race and how important race is want to discount it when it doesn't work for them. So you can't write Luke Cage because you've never been a black man in America. You're exactly right. I haven't been. So you might have an argument there. But if that matters, then Superman can't be black and Denny Rand can't be Asian because then they're no longer.
That's exactly right.
A big part of Denny Rand's problem was he was the only white guy for 1,000 miles. So he turns up, this white orphan kid, blue eyes, blonde hair. He got treated like shit. He got bashed. He got ganged up on. He got the worst job. But somehow, because of that adversity, I would say, he strove to be the very best and he became the champion of Kunlun above all the other people who maybe a 10th generation Kunlunians, and he somehow became better than them. So his whiteness is inherent to his character. If you change him to be Asian, he's just another Asian orphan kid amidst other Asian orphan kids. There's no story there. He's not exceptional anyway. Like his whiteness was adversity.
And I'm not for changing everybody, but I do understand that is a tough thing to sell. Do you think they should just make a new character that has the name and is Asian as the Iron?
No, why? Why can't we accept the white guy?
I think lean into it. Just lean into it. Yeah. I mean, he's got
Also-
into it.
the people
Well,
that are
that's the
complaining
problem.
about him.
That's the big thing of it.
But
The people-
there's a lot of white people who are learning martial arts. What's wrong with that? You know what I mean? Now, the
just
Asians
because Lee
didn't
was
like
saying
it,
that
but they're
that
still
was
doing
kind
it.
of well, because Lee was saying that was kind of the purpose of it, that it was the whole white man going into a terrible location and overcoming it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not
I'd
the
say
greatest representation thing.
Well, maybe they could rebrand it, coming out of Bruce Lee's philosophy of martial arts, as something amazing to be shared with everybody. So Kunlun's got this
Right.
closed-in, xenophobic mindset of this is our style. Only one person gets to be the Iron Fist. Now Denny Rand goes there, learns it, and he's got this progressive mindset of, well, this makes you a better man. Like being martial arts, being fit, being a martial artist, and everything makes you a more confident, more capable man in general. I would say. I mean, I'm not especially fit, and I don't know martial arts, but I think that's probably a real thing. So
I think that's with any sport too.
Yeah, absolutely. Team sports, solo sports, anything. It's going to make you a better person. So he wants to spread that to as many people as possible in the same way that Bruce Lee did. And he could face some of the same adversity that Bruce Lee did when he was trying to spread Wing Chun and then eventually Jeet Kune Do when he made his own style. So you could rebrand it that way. And then when people come at him with the racial thing, he's like, you're the one talking about color. I'm spreading this powerful martial art. I'm honoring my teachers at Kunlun. I'm empowering young people. There's a whole story. Rebrand, lean into it.
The story.
Yeah.
That's why I say lean into it as well.
Yeah.
Crazy man. I want to
look at it. It's
look
like
at this
just this real quick.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The people that are complaining about, this is the last thing I'll say on it. People that are complaining about Iron Fist's racial elements, whatever, haven't been alive as long as the character has existed. Like, how do people turn up and go, so this character's been around for 40 years, but I don't like, fuck off. Nobody cares what you like. He's been around for 40 years. If you're 35 years old and complaining about Iron Fist, check yourself.
I think that he's been around so long that gives those people the ideas they have even more, because they're like, oh, this is old and it has to be racist because it's old.
Yep. That's definitely the mindset they have, Murph. You're not wrong, brother.
Yeah. Hey, let's look at Crazy Mad's thing here. He says Black Panther is the only character that should be race swapped. And then he said to a Korean. So I'm not sure what that's from, but okay.
I don't know why that either. But
I would love it if Black Panther was white. Not to be a dick, but it parallels the whole thing with the Phantom again. You know, like if it wasn't a lineage thing of a king thing, if it was chosen one, if the Panther god chose a champion and it happened to be this guy who's the best man for the job. I mean, like, it happened to be Hal Jordan, and then it happened to be Jon Stewart, and then it happened to be Guy Gardner for different reasons. I think there's a great visual parallel that you could do with the Black Panther there. That, I mean, obviously they can't do it because it's not quite the way the character's strucred, but visually, do you guys ever see that race swapped image? Somebody did this really highly detailed
white guy.
Yeah.
I know he's doing
that. He's doing it for a troll. It's a fantastic picture, really good artwork. And he said, here's my interpretation of Black Panther. People got mad and they roused on them completely. And he's like, I didn't realize he was black. I just thought he was a white character. But I mean, why does it matter, guy? So he turned it around on them. I don't think they really got the point, but I thought it was very cheeky. It was very funny. Visually, it looked fantastic. Like that costume on that guy.
Just joking. Oh, Crazy Mad, they're going to come after you now.
He's walking it back.
Crazy Mad has no affiliation with Dirk and Murph. Go get him, people.
There's a whole different set of stories, you know, when you change that.
Well, yeah, this is another thing. Black Canary's white, and they totally race swapped her now, and she never returned. You know, they've not let the white blonde back. They've made her blonde African American. So
I mean, Eartha Kitt playing Catwoman back in the 60s. Ever since then, there has been a side of like a sideline of darker skinned Catwoman characters. Like, a lot of people tend to think Catwoman is like, she used to look like Michelle Pfeiffer. She used to look like maybe an Italian female or something.
Yeah.
But now most people tend to think of her as slightly darker skin, and she's portrayed that way.
Right.
Aside from Jim Ballant, pretty much everybody after Jim Ballant has portrayed her as darker skin in the movies.
She's white in the video
that's
game.
True.
She's white in the Arkham Asylum game.
That's true. It's one of the few times I've seen her.
I'd like to see what that looks like.
Not much different. Just
not much different.
the hair would come out rather than down, I think. It's an afro first thing in the morning, but I brush it down.
Nice.
Did either of you see the Dave Chappelle stand-up?
I have not.
I did.
I haven't.
I want to see it. The closer.
But I saw the one clip where he talks about that he's not 100% black, that his mother's half black, half white, and he says this, and I laughed hysterically. He goes, "You know, it don't look it, but if I let my hair go, it's fabulous." And I forget what he looked like.
I love it, man.
He brought up a musician. I know, Derek, you'd love it, but like his hair is not a black man's hair; it's a white man's hair. And
that's nice. That's hilarious.
I still gotta watch it. I'll probably watch it.
Yeah, I love it.
They're coming after Dave Chappelle now.
Yeah,
just because he said you can't go besides the fact that everyone's been born through women's legs. It's like,
that's right. He did say that. He got a big cheer when he said it.
It's true. I mean,
it's hilarious, man. I love him, and he don't live very far from us. No. He's only about an hour away from us.
That's cool.
Which is really cool. Well, hey guys, we said we were going to go about 15 minutes ago, so
we're at 2:23.
So we just kept going. I mean, that's how cool this.
What's that? Really, 2:23. Shouldn't we end in 7 minutes?
It'll probably take 7 minutes just to wrap up.
We should
2:23 and not 2:30.
We should say our goodbyes because it's going to take you guys that long just to stop talking long enough to let everybody say it. So, no, this has been a great thing. I'm so glad we did this. This was much needed to get out of my system, and I think out of
the next one will come together, and we'll all decide why Wolverine is the greatest written character of all time.
Yeah,
all time.
What did I tell you, Lee? Man, this guy.
Well, look what you're working with, brother.
Oh my gosh, yeah, I'm going solo soon. I'm just.
Murph, I got to say, mate, I appreciate you challenging some of my preconceptions. It was today for me, but tonight for you guys. Like, you know, I said something and you said, look, I don't really agree. This is why. And you come back at me with some knowledge and made me rethink some stuff, which is always great. Like, there's no point just everybody thumbs upping and then we move on to the next topic. Having a bit of back and forward was really, that's
Murph.
And it was all respectful, man. And we all got along. We're all still mates is the thing. Like, it proves that you can do it. We can have
man.
Differing views. Like, my value is not hinging on how you guys perceive other fictional characters, and it's great that you got your interpretations. Otherwise, there's only one story of every character can be told. A Murph written Superman story would be different to a Lee written one. Wolverine. You know, just real quick, Murph. How if you like Wolverine, how do you feel about Greg Rucka's Wolverine run, where he's not really Wolverine, he's just Logan riding around the country on his motorbike?
I'm fine with it.
You don't? I thought that's my favorite Wolverine run of all time. I think that's my Man of Steel for Wolverine. If someone says, we're going to start on Wolverine, like, go check out Greg Rucka's stuff. That's cool. Wolverine.
I like Wolverine, but I like him way better in a team.
Yeah.
Like, I have his single stuff and I love it, but he is so much better when he's working off of other characters.
Which makes a lot of sense because he's a lot of his character development and growth early on came in the form of being one of the X-Men. Without Dave Cockrum doing the stuff that he did with him, Wolverine he'd be another oddball or another Pace Pop Pete. He'd be like some side character with a gimmick. Cockrum turned him from this scrappy little badger into one of the probably 10 most recognizable characters. We started the process, one of the 10 most recognizable superheroes of all time. Hugh Jackman might have finalized the process, but it started with Cockrum.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's cool. That's cool.
Well,
that's great, man.
Even like if you've read Uncanny X-Force, that was written a couple years ago, Wolverines with Deadpool and them. That's great. Yeah.
I'm going to show Mo Biggs' comment again here. You see this, Murph?
That's right.
That's you, man.
You missed
That's
this.
you.
Sorry, man. We got to go.
Yeah. Okay, so everybody that showed up late, I'm really sorry, but we did go like 2.5 hours here, which was fantastic. One of our longest streams yet. But I love it so much. We're going to definitely do this again. I did want to have another person on the panel, and they weren't able to make it. So we'll do that. We'll change it up sometimes, get some people in here, and we'll talk about some things like this because, I mean, this is what we're passionate about. We're passionate about these characters. We're passionate about our own characters. And so we should be talking about it. I don't think we see enough streams where we appreciate and talk about this kind of stuff.
Well, I noticed that when I was on Dojo Kun and K Manifesto show, just real quick, they did about I think you guys were on there and you probably maybe kicked off some of this sort of stuff, talking about different teams and who was the best team, what worked for a team book and that. And the people loved it. And they're like, oh, it's been an hour, we're going to stop. And the chat was like, no, we want more old school lore and superhero history and teams. We can talk about this stuff all day. So we could do one on all the different martial arts characters in comics. We could do one about all the horror characters, how horror dovetails, Ghost Rider and Hearts of Darkness stuff, dovetails. We could do vigilante characters, ones that kill and how they differ. You know, there's a whole bunch of like subtopics we could do within.
We're gonna do this.
Let's make this a semi-regular thing and people come and go.
Maybe once a month we could do.
I think that'd be a lot of fun, man. Yeah, we'll make a little header and everything. And
hell yeah.
I know nothing about the horror comics though. I just know of them.
Well, you can still participate as someone who said, you know, horror as its own thing, comics as its own thing, and we provide a bit of context, and you can react. How does that sit with you, Murph? Like, does that sound like it works, or does it sound tagged onto you? You know?
No,
well, we're glad you turned up at all, Mo, because you're the MVP of the chat, brother. It's always a good chat when Mo turns up. He's hilarious.
Ooh,
there you go.
Yeah, man, I love you guys. I love having you guys in the chat, and I love you guys just hanging out with us. So. This has been a great episode. We thank you so much for everybody that's shown up. We are going to make this a regular thing, and we may have hit like a new high for Murph and Dirk for sure. So this is something that we're really looking forward to doing again. So check out the Company Men. Don't forget to do that with Kemosabe. We've got Ballad of the Celestials. Yep, we got the sign up page for that. Please like and subscribe the video and to our channel, and we will catch you guys in a chat somewhere probably. So see you guys later.
Yeah, see you guys tomorrow for the design stream.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.